Hello race fans and welcome to round 2 of the PorscheSport Carrera Cup live here on RaceSpot TV. My name is Peter MacKay and I'm delighted to be bringing you all the action today here from Circuit Zolder with my broadcast partner Soumil Arora. Soumil, it was an amazing return to the PorscheSport Carrera Cup last time out at Mid-Ohio and set to have some more here today at Zolder.
Peter, amazing is a bit of an understatement for what we saw the last time out in terms of the amazing battles that we had between Kevin Nielsen, Gonzo Tazilan and Maxime Ramstein. What a field we have here on offer today for the second round of the PorscheSport Carrera Cup, and the interest is just building up, Peter. Usually it kind of tails off as we get midway through the season. Even at the second round, man, I am pumped up to see what happens here today.
So we are here today at Circuit Zolder, definitely a circuit that lives in the shadow of Spa-Francorchamps, of course the circuit that has such world fame. But this is a brilliant technical challenge for the drivers. Some quick corners, some very, very slow, tricky bends as well. 2.5 miles and 10 turns. One thing that is difficult around here at Zolder is overtaking, but as we saw last week at Mid-Ohio, our Porsche Cup guys, they will, if there's not a way through, they will make a way through. So let's have a look at the schedule so far of what we're looking at for this PorscheSport Carrera Cup. Started at Mid-Ohio 2 weeks ago, where Kevin Nielsen took the feature race win. Here at Zolder today, before we go to Imola in 2 weeks' time, then to the Nürburgring, Brands Hatch, Suzuka, and to one of my absolute favourites, Soumil, Sebring International Raceway. A finale at Sebring, that is a prospect.
That sounds like a crazy idea, doesn't it? Just respecting the bumps and then going racing right there. It probably is the widest circuit on the calendar, but even without the width that we have on offer at a circuit like Sebring, Peter, we've seen amazing battles, right? Last time out of Mid-Ohio, there was proper door-to-door action, not once, not twice, but all the way through the broadcast. Zolder is a bit of a similar circuit to Mid-Ohio. Now then, what kind of a battle are we in store for here today? Can we see something like we saw the last time out in terms of the leading battle?
I should sure think we will. Of course, the format here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup is so tricky. We start off with two 20-minute heats split into a maximum of 30 cars each. Only 10 cars advance automatically to the feature race. If you're not in that top 10, you go into the consolation race, which is, if you remember back to your school days, a punishment exercise. It is properly brutal, up to 40 cars and only 10 spots getting through to the feature, and even then you're in the 10 positions at the back of the grid for the 30 car feature. So hopefully for our drivers, an hour and a half of racing split into 4 events. So at the moment, Kevin Nielsen leads the championship by 15 points after round 1 by Gonzo Tazilan. Maxime Ramstein, of course, who ran Alexander Teeb all the way to the final round in last season's PorscheSport Carrera Cup. He sits in 3rd right now. Alexander Lauritsen in 4th. Jake Robertson for the Apex Racing team sitting in 5th, followed by Florian Lebiger, Pascal Costa, Vince Peters, Mac Wiesip-Koscyker and Sam Koiter, rounding out the top 10. So the drivers at the moment are in the middle of their qualifying laps, setting their positions for the opening round of this season. Early days yet, but as we've seen so often so far in 2021, Soumil, qualifying in particular in these Porsche Cup cars is absolutely vital.
It is vital indeed, right? It's such a wide car, and Zolder being a track that's very narrow in places, you have to make sure that you get the best in qualifying so that you have, logically, the highest starting position. And a corner like this one, Peter, this chicane right here, these are places that can show you how violent of a track Zolder can be in terms of the curbs, and those curbings can really discourage you from passing. I mean, our producer, a Grand Prix iRacing legend, Hugo Luis, also told us that once right here, he had damage on his cars. We see Quentin Violate just getting it wrong in qualifying. He also told us once that he got over one of those curbs in a Grand Prix World Championship race, damaged the underfloor of his car and lost 20 kilometers per hour, but still he won the race from the lead. It's that kind of a track right here at Zolder, which makes qualifying all the more vital. But if you're thinking, they're not going to make any passes, this is going to be a dull race, wait and watch. This should be absolutely intense.
It will. I think we can guarantee that. So we see our drivers coming over the line, putting in their lap times. Brilliant lap from Brian Lockwood. Wow, eclipsing Maxim Ramstein by 1/1000th of a second. So at the moment, that would put Lockwood on pole position for Heat 1 and Ramstein on pole position for Heat 2. Quentin Violati, although making a mistake there on his second lap, wow, 35 thousandths off the pace in third. Soumil, these lap times are unbelievably close.
They are, Peter, they are, but dare I say this, we've gotten used to it. It's that kind of a series here at the PorscheSport Carrera Cup, isn't it?
It certainly is. So confirming then, Brian Lockwood, your pole sitter, alongside Quentin Violati on the front row of the grid. Behind them will be Sam Coitert and Ken Halliburton, who was quickest in practice. So a good representation for Racecraft Esports once again. Row 3 will be Gonzo Dastellin and Jake Robertson starting from 6th on the grid. Row 4 will be Florian Lebiger and Vince Peters. Dylan Burse and Nick Schulte-Wisserman will start on the 5th row, with Pascal Costa and Suelo Almeida starting on row 6. 13th is Nick Harwood, and alongside him will be David Ward. Row 8 will be Jan Smits and Justin Wren, with Thomas Galdalian and Alexander Hetmank starting on row 9. Row 10 will be Gilham Pipers and David DeWitt, with Magnus Terkildsen and Paul Szymanek starting on row 11. Row 12 will be Clement Andre O and Martin Spalik starting 24th, with Henrik Lichtenhagen for Panda Racing Team starting 25th. So 25 cars for heat number 1, only 10 get an automatic entry to the feature. As you can see, very fittingly, we've got a Porsche 911 pace car there on screen. Hopefully we won't need it. We very unlikely will need a pace car to be called. And of course, for the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup, what other pace car could we use than the Porsche 911? Of course, PorscheSport.com, the world's leading independent Porsche news site, with independent exclusive interviews, features and weekly podcasts as well, with interviews from the great and the good in the Porsche world. So do go and check that out. You can subscribe via your chosen podcast provider. So as you can see, the drivers are heading to the grid, forming up for this first 20-minute race of the evening. It's fast and furious here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup, presented by Simpower, and looks like most of the drivers are very keen to get going. We're waiting on our pole sitter. There he is, Brian Lockwood, ever relaxed in the 43 car. And we are almost ready to go. The lights will be being shown very soon indeed. It looks like they are. The revs beginning to build. And we will be about ready to go here at Zolder. And we are go. Green at Zolder for race 1 here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup. Good start from Brian Lockwood, but has to go defensive early on Violati as they pile into turn 1. And whoa, one of the Racecraft Esports cars off exit stage left. That's the number 12 machine of Ken Halliburton. Wow, that's a big name out early, Soumil.
Yeah, Halliburton was looking so strong in qualifying, and it is such a pity to see him right there in the gravel trap at turn number 1. I wonder exactly what happened there, but exactly what's happening on your screen right now at the top is Quentin Violati putting in a hard charge for P1.
Yeah, Quentin Violati, we know that he's super aggressive. Oh, Jake Robertson off! Jake Robertson off at the Klein chicane, and oh, we've got a bit of a car park on the go here. Number of cars spinning around. Now, Jake Robertson hit into the wall pretty firm there, but he's got going again, hopefully without too much damage. But back at the front, it's Lockwood from Violati from Sam Coitert. Now, Sam Coitert, the Dutchman, we know he's super quick, and he's nice and easy for us to spot on camera here, Soumil, because he's running some very Dutch orange wheels.
Yeah, they stand out on that racecraft livery. They have a bit of experience of making really good liveries right there, racecraft, with some rather absurd wheel combinations. But at the back, another one of those racecraft cars having a bit of a battle, and that has to be the 199. So Nick Harwood also in a bit of a scrap right here. And that chicane, Peter, the Klein chicane that we saw, the incidents happening, it's a very controversial one, right? It really breaks up your momentum, and those curbs right there are so tight, you just can't cut the corner. You cut the corner and you see exactly what's happened right there. Big drama on the opening lap.
Indeed, it's a chicane that you'd think is maybe a modern addition, because we see this so often now to try and bring speeds down as cars get quicker. The circuits become a little bit more dangerous, so they do put chicanes in. But actually, the Klein chicane, which we're approaching to now, was actually installed in 1972, a year before Formula One came to Zolder for the very first time, because they were already worried about the speeds. And we call it the Klein chicane. I think the drivers, when they're at the wheel, they have maybe a slightly more rude word for it.
Some explicatives will be flying through their mouths right now as they go past there. But we take a look at what happened to Kane Halliburton, and squeezed out by his own teammate, Peter.
It seemed like a bit of a domino effect there, where it was kind of his teammate got a little nudge and then around they went. So it's so busy going there into turn one, and even from a standing start it is still pretty quick as well. So and everyone's wanting to make up that track position. Now we see the 104 car there of Ter Kiltsen running the Porsche factory colours as well, which is quite cool to see. I don't think he's a Porsche factory driver, not that I'm aware, not that I've heard, unless he's a recent signing, but hopefully he'll drive like one today. Maybe that's what he's hoping to channel his inner Kevin Estre.
What a man Kevin Estre really is, a proper beast behind some Porsches. But have we really seen him behind a GT3 Cup car, Peter? I doubt he has he?
Kevin Estre, well, he did. He made it in the days when you had to change gear properly in a Carrera Cup car. There's some brilliant clips on YouTube of Kevin driving, actually racing with Nicky Thiem in Carrera Cup Germany. And Kevin's got a full attack driving style, and honestly, it looks like he's about to rip the gear shifter out of the dashboard because he's pushing so hard. Very, very entertaining to watch. Can thoroughly recommend it. So, Brian Lockwood leading away, but we're going to get an Alcantech.com replay here as, oh, dearie me, David Ward getting, well, pretty unceremoniously tipped there, and gets another hit from one of the Woip.com cars. Really unfortunate there for David Ward, Soumil. Nothing he could do about that.
Yeah, nothing you can do about that. And Justin Wren, one of the Volante cars, caught up in that accident, and that's a real shame. Justin Wren wanting to get a bit of momentum in this particular round, and that accident just does not help out his cause. But right now as well, Peter, big slide at the back right there. See, this is the kind of thing at Zolder, because at times it can be a very stop-start track. We don't associate lots of slipping and sliding around right here, but some of the drivers really pushing the limits, and you can see it by the way they drive. A quick onboard with Soumil Almeida right now can give you just a good idea of what this track is all about. And now, turn number one. Man, this is such a tricky corner to take up. It really sort of narrows down in at this part, so you want to carry in more speed, but then you can't really, because it really turns in a very precarious position. So if you do, you can find yourself in the gravel trap having some lunch, but that's not really where you want to be in a fun sprint race, is it?
Well, actually, you get good lunch at Zolder. The fries at Zolder with some mayonnaise, delicious. Washed down with a cold Belgian beer. That sounds very appetising indeed. Looking at Jake Robertson here in the number 22 car for Apex Racing Team. Really unlucky for Jake. He qualified very well there, but caught up in that early melee at the Klein chicane. Now, despite hitting the wall, he's been able to get going again. Now, the chances, at the moment he's in 19th position, 14 minutes to go. He's certainly not out the hunt for the top 10. It's going to require things to go in his favour, but I think what the thing that we saw last season, Soumil, was that even if you cannot give up at any point, because every position counts throughout the entire night, because perhaps if Jake's not going to make the top 10, he wants to have the best possible grid position for the consolation race, and of course by moving up the field, that's what he will get.
You're right, he is in P19 right now, so he has to pass quite a few people to get that desired P10 position. But as we speak about that, big changes for P10.
We've got Alexander Hetman coming into pit lane for Impulse Racing. The car looks very neat and tidy. I wonder if this is maybe a drive-through penalty. It is. We're getting confirmation that it is a drive-through penalty. I would presume, Soumil, that that's an incident responsibility penalty for that incident with David Ward, who's unfortunately sitting there wounded in pit lane.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that particular incident, and race control are manual right here, so they can come up and give decisions very, very quickly. And that's another beautiful part of the series, Peter. We have manual live race control, so the moment an incident happens, they'll be right on it, trying to dissect it, understand it, and just say, give justice to it.
I think it's the way to go. We've got one of the cast cars going slow here. Clement Andriot. That car looks very unhealthy indeed. Looks like it's been bent out of shape at some point. Have to say, I do love these cast cars. They look fantastic. They kind of look like Castrol livery. Maybe that's where the name came from. I'm not sure. We'll need to try and find out. But going very, very slow out on track. And I think we're going to alcontech.com replay to see what happened here to Clement Andriot. Locks up going in, flips it around. Now, so he's obviously maybe already nursing damage, perhaps, Soumil.
Yeah, that could be the case, and that's not ideal for Clement Andriot, who's in P9 in the AM Championship. And that one is so hotly contested that any incident like this one can put you back big time, not only in the race, but in the overall championship picture as well. In the AM category, we know, Peter, we've seen so many brilliant battles there, and sometimes it just falls back in terms of our attention because we tend to focus more on the pros, but it is just so hotly contested with the gaps being so small to each other. That incident right there can really push Andriot back, but hopefully he can gain some momentum rather soon.
Let's hope so, as we see Nick Schulte-Wisserman here for Urano Esports, running the number 34, running the 34 of Kevin Schwantz, motorcycle Grand Prix champion of the early 1990s as well. Completely irrelevant to Porsche Cup racing, I know, but I just can't help myself with a bike reference. It's almost the law for me in every broadcast. Now, following Schulte-Wisserman there is the 68 of Dylan Burst, who has a huge moment there at the Gilles Villeneuve chicane, and Lebiga behind him nearly runs into the back. Now, Dylan Burst running for Vendaval Sim Racing, who have an amazing number of young stars, up-and-coming stars in the real world of motorsport as well. Is David DeWitt having just having a little bit of a moment there on the brakes. But yes, Vendaval, one particular driver who amazed me when I was commentating on the Road to Indy E-Series was Max Esterson, who runs with Dylan in the Vendaval outfit.
Yeah, Vendaval have been around for quite a while, right? They've been proper sim racing giants, and this is what happened to Dylan Burst, just going in the gravel. And quite frankly, I was doing a few laps around here at Zolder earlier this morning on my sim, and I made the exact same mistake. Just navigating a braking point at times at that particular corner can be so tricky, right? Because you want to gain more, you want to be faster, you want to commit more to every corner. You miss it by a few meters, and the gravel trap, it's like it's waiting for you with its arms open. Like, come on, son, I'm right here for you, give me a hug.
I think he's done that just to make you feel better, Soumil. I think that's humanitarian Dylan Burst there. I remember when I crashed my motorbike. I used to do track days on my motorbike, and I remember I crashed in pretty spectacular fashion. And the week late, I tell you what, I was very, very sad for months on end that my motorbike was destroyed. And I remember seeing Marc Marquez, probably the greatest motorcycle racer ever, saw him make a similar mistake. I'm not going to say the same mistake, but a similar mistake in the rain in Malaysia, and it made me feel better for about 2, maybe 3 minutes, and then I went back to being sad again. But anyway, that's why I stick where I belong, behind the microphone. So this is where we're going to really focus in this particular season here in the PorscheSport Carrera Cup, because that bubble battle for the top 10 is so vital. At the moment, Nick Harwood, following that mistake from Dylan Burst, Nick Harwood in the 199 Racecraft Esports car, he has the last ticket to the ball at the moment. But you've got to think that without damage, which I didn't see any there for Dylan Burst is going to put a lot of pressure there on Harwood. But you cannot give up, Soumil, because how many times have we seen a driver or number of drivers have an incident on the final lap and drivers come through and pinch an invite at the last minute?
I mean, we literally saw it in the last race, right, the last round of Mid-Ohio. It is just such a common occurrence that the battle for P10 initially ends up being a very calm one, and in the last 7 minutes, that is literally where it all explodes for that position. And it's not just a battle for P10, right, it's also for the qualifying positions behind, because Dylan Burse is under some tremendous pressure from Thomas Zolder as Harwood literally takes off into air. See, if you want to send a car into space, Elon Musk, that is how you do it. You don't need to strap it onto a rocket. That's too costly.
Showing, I wonder if you get more air in a 911 because the engine's hung out the back, possibly. Of course, these machines, very, very impressive pieces of kit based on the Porsche 911 recipe that's been in existence since 1964, that rear-engined layout. Now, the engine is a little bit further forward than it used to be in older models, but still, it's a fairly decent-sized lump, 4-litre flat 6 hanging out the back, and that does give the car quite unique handling characteristics as well. As you can see, it's got a little bit of a garden fence of a wing on the back of it, which tries to balance things out, but it does require a particular technique, this machine, and you can see, whoa, oh, rallycross, all 4 wheels off there, and I swear they put a skateboard kicker at that Klein chicane.
Exactly, it just takes you off up in the air. And just continuing on that point about the 991 GT3 Cup car being a proper B-speeder, I've spoken to so many drivers in this series, so many World Championship drivers too, and they all just have one common consensus. Whenever I ask them, so how are you feeling like? Are you comfortable with the car? They say, it's not possible to be comfortable with this car. It always pushes you to the limit. You can never ever take it for granted. And perhaps that's the reason why we love it so much. It gets the best out of every single driver. And now is it getting the best out of Soumil Almeida? Oh boy.
Oh, and Harwood has dropped, there you go. Nick Harwood has dropped the last ticket to the ball. It's fluttered away in the wind. He gets back onto circuit, but that is his hopes of automatic invitation to the feature race dashed. He will have to go through the Consolation, will Nick Harwood. There, he's dropped right down the order. So let's get a replay and see what happened. Right over the curbs, and oof, dearie me, that was violent. Just, if you get that Klein chicane ever so slightly wrong, it will bite you every single time. So that means that Dylan Burse is back in the show. He's up into 10th position. Pascal Costa about 5 seconds up the road. So it's going to be hard in the next 6 minutes to catch a man of Costa's ability. But Dylan has his ticket to the ball. But Zolder and Schmidt's not far behind at all. So one tiny slip up from Dylan Burse, and he could be back in the Consolation race again.
Peter, we literally said, the moment it hits the 7-minute clock, the battle for P10 just explodes. That, unfortunately, is what happened right there for Nick Harwood. And I think we might need a big banner at the Klein chicane, writing down saying, please do not get on the curbs. It's amazing to see how many drivers have been caught out right there. See again one of the racecraft cars being slightly abusing the curb slightly at that corner, I beg your pardon. So it's just a quest to go faster. It's a quest to push harder, to get more commitment out of the car and the track, but it just never lets go. That chicane can really be a killer.
It's always a hot spot for action, that's for sure, and that's before you get people thinking, I can make an overtaking manoeuvre in there, and that's usually when things go horribly wrong here at Zolder. But as you can see, beautiful woodland circuit here at Zolder, very much, as we say, in the kind of shadow, at least in terms of profile of Spa, but offers a very, very tough challenge for the drivers, as we're seeing. As you can see, that 99 machine there. Whoa. Oh, fantastic. The 99 of Almeida there, getting it all kinds of squirrely. But this is, there's a driver, as we see, dear me, number 34 there of Schultz Wisserman. Oh, we've got the car off. Oh, dear me. Now, who is that dropping down? That's Peters. Peters in the 45 car going down into 8th position. And although it's a mistake, he's still clinging on to that place in the feature race. So not too much harm. Goodness.
This is amazing, isn't it? Contact made. The racecraft car is in the wall. Schultz Wisserman is also falling down. And this is a golden opportunity for for the sim racing La Volante car to make a position up. What in the world is happening here, Peter?
One thing that will be making it very difficult indeed for the drivers surrounding the 99 car of Almeida. If you notice there, the car just appear and disappear. That is not a fault on our end. That is actually, that can happen. Of course, this is an amazing piece of technology here, the iRacing.com simulator. We've got drivers all over the world competing in real time, in incredible immersion and realism. However, you are limited by internet connection, and occasionally you get a driver where there just gets a little break in their internet connection and the car will disappear slightly and then come back. Now, the driver in that car will not know that that's going on. However, the drivers around, of course, it's very annoying for them. I also liken it a little bit to snoring, Soumil. It's like the person snoring has no idea that they're snoring. They're fast asleep, they have no idea. But the people around who can't sleep, it's very, very annoying.
And the thing is, you can't even abuse the other person for that, because quite frankly, their internet connection may be so bad that they may not even get your message in the first place. But what was fascinating there, Peter, is that they still somehow managed to keep it clean eventually. So, of course, we did see Suelo Almeida getting on the grass and just making some slight bit of contact with the wall on the right-hand side. But even with the flickering car, they're all fine. Somehow, that is. But we have seen a major drop in position. Nick Schulte-Wisserman, I think he was in B5. He finds himself in B9. So, on the broader sense of things, you might just say, it's all right. You're still qualifying. The world is not ending, but it's 4 positions lost in terms of your qualifying positions, Peter. Now, that'll have a huge impact in the feature race.
Well, that's, of course, 4 positions lost in your heat is 8 positions on the grid.
8 in the race,
in the feature, exactly, because, of course, we've got another heat to go. So that and Schulte-Wisserman didn't do a great deal wrong there. Just was the guy who got shuffled out the pack at the wrong point. So really it shows you how tough this PorscheSport Carrera Cup is. A very different, of course, the same car as the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, but a very different format. That top 10 go through format, very tricky indeed. And I tell you what, we're going to have a heck of a consolation race. You think of all the big names that are going to be in that consolation race. And I suspect, Soumil, that every fortnight when we come here for the PorscheSport Carrera Cup, I think we're going to have big names in the consolation race every single week.
Exactly. It's just the standard of the championship, right? It just forces everyone to be so on the top of their game, so that sometimes even big names can slip up and you can see them in the qualifying positions too. It reminds me a lot of the UEFA Champions League of sorts, right? Where you can really slip up and sometimes you find yourself up in the Europa League of sorts. So that kind of thing can happen every so often, but seriously, just the names on the grid, the quality is insane. As we take a look at an Alkintech.com replay, and again, it is Magnus Terkelsen having a bit of a spin. So Magnus, on the iRating sense, he's the lowest rated driver on the field, but he's been so impressive up to this particular incident. Really unfortunate for him. He was doing such a brilliant job so far, Peter.
I have a suspicion that he may well get a slap on the wrist from the stewards for that one. Because why? Because joining broadside onto the circuit, especially reversing onto the circuit broadside, not advisable. And he was actually lucky to get the car out the way before a whole stream of cars came through. But thankfully, no incident. But we ride on board with Pascal Costa, just on the windshield strip, looking forward ahead to the 45 of Vince Pater. Suelo Almeida, our resident astronaut, who's been launching it over the curbs here today with Lebiger for Roma. Of course, anyone watching who's maybe new to sim racing, of course, they'll know who Romain Grosjean is. If they didn't before the end of last year, they certainly will now. The Miracle Man, and of course has his own esports team as well, which is very cool.
Yeah, and Quinton Violate leading the junior outfit. So Violate, he's transformed quite a fair bit. Used to be with Fiercely Forward, now with the RAG Esports junior team. A proper beast in the Carrera Cup car, as we've also seen in the Ivor competition on RaceSpot TV, and he's just proving it once again right here.
So we are on to the final lap here at Zolder. Quinton Violate, a little bit of damage on the front of that car, but no problem at all. He'll be starting on the second row of the grid in the feature race. A great position to be, but this has been a superb drive from Brian Lockwood, the American, a World Championship driver, races in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, and he's ran wide! He's ran wide, but oh, he's just got enough of a margin. But Quentin Violati is thinking, Christmas and birthday come early, but not quite. Oh, Brian Lockwood getting the heart rate up there for the Racecraft Esports, guys. Checker flag is in the air. Brian Lockwood will be your winner. Quentin Violati flashes the light saying that was close, pal. Violati over the line. Coitert in there as well, as quick as you like. 1, 2, 3. Tasdellen in the very bright purple and gold car 4th. Lebiger 5th. Almeida 6th. Peters 7th. Costa 8th. Schulte Wisseman in 9th. And Dylan Burse gets the last spot in the feature.
That got too close for comfort. That really got too close for comfort right there for Brian Lockwood. Nearly having the race slipping away from his hands and just kind of losing composure on the final lap. And he'll be the first one to recognize that. But wow, that was incredible, wasn't it? That was some first heat race that we got right in there. But say what you want about the final error. That was a proper statement of intent from Brian Lockwood. And he seems determined to get the big win right here today.
That's certainly the best way to go about it. Win Heat 1, that puts you on pole position for the feature. So confirming then, Brian Lockwood by 0.8 of a second. Thankfully he had a margin in hand before that slight mistake at the final hairpin there at Jochen Rindt. Quentin Violati was second with Sam Coitert rounding out the podium. The whole top three covered by just over a second. Guanzo Tasdellen a little bit further down the order, but finishing 4th. That'll put him on the 4th row of the grid for the feature race. Florian Lebiger was 5th, followed by Suelo Almeida, Vince Peters, Pascal Costa, Nick Schulte Wisserman, and Dylan Burse. Even despite that mistake, getting the last spot in the feature. So the drivers then going to the consolation race. Thomas Gildelion, Jan Smits, Jake Robertson, Nick Harwood, Gulham Pipers, David DeWitt, Justin Rem, Paweł Szymanek, Alexander Hetmank and Clement Andriot rounding out the top 20. So we'll start deep in the field for the consolation on your last few runners. Martin Spalek, Magnus Terkildsen, Hendrik Lichtenhagen, David Ward and Kane Halliburton. Kane Halliburton was the fastest driver in practice, so he's got a lot of work to do in that consolation. So here is how they line up then for heat number 2 here at Zolder. Maxim Ramstein, 3rd place last time out at Mid-Ohio. Will start on pole with Kevin Nielsen starting alongside him, last week's race winner. Kamil Grabowski and Jeremy Lemire will be on row 2 with Henk Insegoglu and Alexei Nezov starting on the 3rd row of the grid. On row 4 will be Rebecca Pauline and Alexander Lauritsen. Mike Wiskop-Syker and Andrew Precario will start on row 5 with Gavin Halls, the Vampire, for PorscheSport starting in 11th with Oscar Wilkins in 12th. Kirill Kolobuksov for Wild Animals will start 13th alongside Nelson Costa de Souza. Matthias Burke and Marcel Jochheim will start on row 8, and row 9 will be Steve Lavalle and Bastian Matler. Row 10 sees Chris Walsh, the bobsled driver, and Jaime Fierro. Wayne Sanderson and James Parker start on row 11, and Martin Donati and Marco Jaeger start on row 12. So as you can see, a full contingent of Porsche 911 Cup cars prepared on the grid for heat number 2. 20 minutes more of racing here. Who will be going through to the feature race? The lights are being prepared, the revs rise, about to get going, ready to drop the clutch. We are green for heat number 2 here at Zolder. It's a good getaway there from Kevin Nielsen. Is it good enough to get past Ramstein into turn 1? No, Maxim Ramstein is the leader into the opening sector. Nielsen right on his case, and they've already pulled a couple of car lengths from Kamil Grabowski, and Alexei Nezov nerfs off 2 cars. That's the 15 car of Rebecca Pauline. Oh, Rebecca, what does she have to do to get a break? Oh, dearie me, we've got a couple of cars spinning around here as well. Oh dear, Soumil, what a start.
What a hectic start that was. Apart from having Jeremy Lemire also lose many positions after having a slow reaction, we saw major contact between Alexei Nezov and Rebecca Pauline. I was just hoping that doesn't happen. It is such a tricky opening sector right here at Zolder where your judgment can be clouded up so easily. Unfortunately, that is exactly what has happened. But look at the bright side, Peter. What a battle that we're getting in here just in heat number 2. Maxim Ramstein versus Kevin Nielsen, which was the leading battle in the last round of Mid-Ohio. It's like getting Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Mick Foley on live television. You don't even have to pay for it on pay-per-view. That's the kind of action that we're getting right here, right now. Oof, I'm excited to see what happens, but a hectic start indeed.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was just looking to see if we were 3:16 into the race. Not far away from it as well. Late 90s WWF reference there for you folks. Who thought? Anyway, but we're looking back from the engine cover of Maxim Ramstein's 911 Cup car. Racing for Core Sim Racing was with HM Engineering last season, but a transfer to Core Sim Racing. Looking back at Kevin Nielsen, who was so impressive last time out at Mid-Ohio. As you see, Gavin Hall's here getting big and frisky with the 53 of Precario. And it's a good start as well, and from Walsh also for PorscheSport. Well, it's very, very busy in the mid-pack here, and no wonder, because Gavin Hall's there in the 38 car. He has the last invite to the feature at the moment, and he will be determined to try and make his way through. So you can have a look here at the Klein chicane. That would be bold. And actually, as you can see, he's carrying quite a bit of damage on the front of that car.
He is, but what Gavin Hall did was very smart. He just tried to compromise his entry so that he could get a better exit off the chicane and maybe get a run right about here. Still not working. Lockups at the back there. That's something very known with the Carrera Cup car, and they're going side by side. This is incredible. Martin Donati to the outside line he goes. He's just clinging on to it. Has he got the momentum right now, Peter? No, he does not. And the 69 car gets up ahead. That's Marco Jäger behind the wheel. And now Donati loses out yet another position. And that is to Monaco Esports' Bastian Matler.
That is brutal. You're talking, this is the battle to keep in the top 20. Really, really brutal. Now we must give it... Now, Matler going into pit lane, perhaps serving a drive-through penalty. Maybe Race Control have been on the radio saying, you might be from Monaco, but you're not avoiding this tax, my friend. Sorry. That's, that's sacked straight away. 16 minutes to go in this race here in the PorscheSport Carrera Cup. So at the front, I think this is going to be a battle that rages on all season long. Ramstein versus Nielsen come down towards the Klein chicane. But what I was going to say before I said something that's probably going to get me in trouble, we must say, I mean, the number 15 of Rebecca Pauline qualified very, very well indeed. Was so unlucky last time out in Mid-Ohio, taken off by another driver, and the same thing has happened again.
Yeah, Rebecca's just had a string of bad luck, let's say, in this series early on. And they've shown a great degree of confidence, a great degree of energy around this championship in the practice sessions and the qualifyings. But just those crashes, right? And what kind of control can you have over them? Of course, Race Control will be taking a look at that, giving their own judgment. And that we can see on this Alkentech.com replay. I don't even think it's Rebecca's fault. Just concertina effect coming in, and the same thing that you mentioned, Peter, the domino effect, and that also happened right there. Oh boy, that is a major one. With one of the impulse cars involved, that's the 163, Marcel Jochheim. Oh no, he was second in the AM category, Peter.
Yeah, just really, really unlucky there for Marcel Jochheim, and as we've seen, the number 33 of Alexei Nezov, incident responsibility for that incident we were talking about with Rebecca Pauline and Alexei having to take. Now, here at Zolder, thankfully, unlike the other circuit in Belgium, Spa, the pit lane is relatively short compared to others, but certainly compared to Spa. However, a drive-through penalty at this level in a 20-minute race is an absolute killer. So that will mean that Alexei Nezov will have to go through the Consolation race, and Alexei is so fast in a Porsche. There's going to be some big names in that Consolation race, but back at the front, no such problems. Ramstein leads by 0.2 of a second from Kamil Grabowski. Now, this is the interesting, well, we're going to take an Alkentech.com replay first and get a look there. So there's Nezov in the Urano car, the 33, and yeah, maybe just tried to get through a gap that wasn't actually there, and Rebecca Pauline, unfortunately, the car on the outside, and you're always the most vulnerable. But yeah, coming back to this battle at the front, Soumil, this is where the PorscheSport Carrera Cup just has a slightly different dynamic, because if this was a battle for 10th, you'd want to get through by any means necessary. But these guys at the front, Ramstein, Nielsen and Grabowski, they're in a perfect position already, all three of them, because they'll get positions on the first 2 rows of the grid. So you kind of think, is there much reward in taking a big risk here?
That's a good question. But Nielsen clearly seems to say yes, there is, because he's putting his car on the inside line and putting up a big statement of intent. He wants that position. And I kind of resonate with him, Peter, because it's always better to have passed Maxime Ramstein in your heat race instead of having to pass him in the feature one where the pressure is even higher. So I think it depends on when you want to bite the bullet. And for Kevin Nielsen, it looks like he wants to do and get it done right now. So maybe, yeah, you're right, the risk versus reward factor will eventually come in, and to win the championship, you do need consistent results. And when you're trying to make a move on someone like Maxime Ramstein, you are risking quite a fair bit, and it can go away in a flash. But then again, look at the rewards, right? If you just get past him, you don't need to pass him in the feature race, and Ramstein is a proper wall at times. So just depends on what side of the fence you want to be on, and Nielsen clearly wanting to go the more aggressive route. But for us, Peter, it's only for the better, right? We're just getting a better show. We're getting to sit back, relax, not have a popcorn while speaking, of course, but still, you get the idea. Just having a great degree of fun around here.
Indeed, yes. I always have to think of things to keep the throat well lubricated, and yeah, popcorn would certainly dry it out as well. I do like a bit of commentator's tea with some honey. That certainly helps as well. We're looking at the 119 car of Nelson Costa de Souza from the bonnet of Chris Walsh's car. Now, Chris, one of the new signings for the PorscheSport esports team, which had a very successful day yesterday, being crowned the Virtual Endurance Championship winners and winning the Creventic 12 Hours of Spa in the GT4 category. And Chris, of course, was one of the drivers in that car, so it's been a successful weekend. And I love the fact that Chris is the first American driver to join PorscheSport and part of the American bobsleigh team. How cool is that?
What? That is...
Yeah.
Well, talk about a man with many talents right there.
Absolutely. I've already put my request in to go along as a passenger. I think that looks the most fun ever to go in a 4-man bob, or even a 2-man bob would be cool. Always my favourite thing to watch in the Winter Olympics.
It's amazing, right? Bobsleighing just gives you such a great degree of thrill to see them go down in there. And my name on the list as well, Peter, just in case if you get the chance to. But at the top too, Jeremy Lamy is making acquisitions, right? He had a bad start.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Now, as you can see there, Chris Walsh he could have picked up the throttle there and gone past the 119 of Nelson Costa de Souza, but showing some good sportsmanship there, made a mistake, big mistake, and allowed de Souza to get back on track. As you can see, that's been good news there for Rebecca Pauline, who's now making up the way to 16th. Nelson Costa de Souza just shutting the door in time. So let's get a look at this. You can see Chris Walsh coming from quite a way back. I wonder if he locked up there, possibly. Of course, these cars have absolutely no anti-lock braking system. So if you just put in that little bit too much brake pressure, you just lock up the tyre and you become a bit of a passenger. And that's one of the things, Soumil, about this car. The braking is so difficult, but Chris Walsh, he'll be kicking himself about that.
Yeah, just a really unfortunate mistake right there. So easy to do, so easy to happen. What makes it worse is there's someone else losing time because of your own mistake. That kind of adds more pressure and more burden onto that one. But yeah, hopefully we don't get to see more of that sort of stuff. But what we should get to see more often are battles like this one. Rebecca Pauline on a recovery drive, under pressure from quite a few people behind them. And it's interesting, Peter, that with 9 odd minutes to go, there is a chance that Rebecca can perhaps make a few positions out there. But then again, the gaps are big too. But now the AXA Simsport teammate of Kevin Nielsen making a couple of moves. That is Matthias Berg getting up to P number 12, improving his chances of qualifying higher up in the feature race. In the consolation race, I beg your pardon. As it stands, he won't make it to the feature race immediately.
But he is very, very close, isn't he? And I tell you what, that will be in Matthias Burke's mind, thinking, right, I've got he might only have 2 positions to make up, but he's got just under 5 seconds, and that is a big ask over just under 9 minutes of racing. However, that's if everyone in front doesn't make a mistake. But as we've seen, especially in the closing stages of the race, you will see occasional little slips of concentration, just a little mistakes. And, well, we saw Brian Lockwood nearly chuck away the heat race win at the final corner.
Oh yeah, that was some sight, let's put it that way, wasn't it?
Well, I can see we've been volunteered for our own bobsleigh team, Soumil, judging by the YouTube comments. Thanks to all of you joining in on RaceSpot TV. Maybe we could make a four-man bob. So Chris Walsh is the driver, and you and I will be in the middle, and we'll put Luke Manbun Holroyd of PorscheSport.com as the brake man at the back.
Now, expect a few crashes then. I don't
Yes.
think we'll be the best team in the world. It'll be some thrill, it'll be some joy, but yeah, I think we might need a few lessons here and there.
Well, but the Chris can be the driver. So we're in the middle. We just push it off and jump in the middle and let them worry about it. Yeah, we're
There's only
passengers.
one person doing it on the bobsleigh team, isn't it? The rest are just there to accompany and enjoy the ride, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got a driver and you've got a brakeman. Have you never seen Cool Runnings before?
No,
It's
I've seen
an
it.
educational film about bobsleigh.
Nah, that one I haven't. I've seen Jeremy Clarkson on Top Gear trying to put his mum through a bobsleigh for some reason, but...
Oh, you need to watch. That's your homework, Soumil. Cool Runnings, one of the best films ever made. Yes, very, very good. Very, very good. So, back at the front here, some say people can't believe Course and Racing, they have a Porsche team. And that's a... No, I'm not even going to go there. Cool. So, Kevin Nielsen is... Well, I tell you what, if he's just sitting there, he's not doing a very good job of showing that, because he's really filling the mirrors right now of Maxim Ramstein, filling left, filling right, really putting the pressure on, because if he puts enough pressure on that Maxim Ramstein makes a mistake, that could be catastrophic for Ramstein. So it is worth making Ramstein's life as difficult as possible, and they appear to be just dropping Kamil Grabowski ever so slightly.
Yeah, Grabowski has done quite a good job, I beg your pardon, just to stay right there as well, because Grabowski, normally you haven't quite seen him in a situation where he's challenging these two, but he's still right there. He's still only around a second behind, so he's in the best slot to pick up any scraps, or rather, even push for something himself, perhaps, if he gets the chance to. But Nielsen, notice his driving style, Peter. Very much on the edge, takes the corner with much smoothness, but on the exit, he's constantly fighting the car, constantly fighting the snap oversteer, but he's still clinging on right there. It's just amazing to see what kind of a performance he's put on. But I get a feeling now is the time will he come up with a big move.
Well, he's just coming down to 5 minutes to go here at Zolder in this second heat, and it looks like Kevin Nielsen is perhaps maybe winding up a heavyweight punch here to Maxim Ramstein. We'll see. But Kevin was so impressive, and it was... Well, we called them of course, being Danish, they're a nation of very good goalkeepers. We called him the goalkeeper last time out at Mid-Ohio, because he was so good at defensive driving, just keeping everyone behind. Nothing Maxim Ramstein could do to get by. But this time the roles are reversed. Ramstein is playing the role of goalkeeper. Well, maybe we could. Well, of course, in Holland they're very famous for the dikes to keep the water out. Of course, such a low-lying country.
Aha, see, good point. And it's very close to Belgium as well. So perhaps Ramstein is playing the role of one Edwin van der Sar. I'm a United fan. I had to throw that one in there. But yeah, it's Jaap Stam as well. Yeah.
Was he?
But it's
he
getting
was,
close here.
I must apologise. I have zero interest in football, but you sort of pick these things up by osmosis, if you, I suppose. But yeah, Ramstein really getting put under the cosh here, and Nielsen. This is not a man who's happy to sit here. You can just tell by the body language of Kevin Nielsen's car following Maxim Ramstein, just trying to think: is there a little gap? Keeping the pressure on Maxim Ramstein, and they're doing this and pulling away from Grabowski at the same time, which is very cool. As Ramstein just kicking up a bit of dust there as well, just chip the paintwork on that shiny blue machine of Kevin Nielsen.
It's a beautiful one, isn't it? iLiveries has just done an excellent job with the livery, as always, right? I don't even have to say that now. They've just done such an excellent job with every one of their projects that it's so much fun to watch their liveries in action. And the AXA Simsport car, just another example of that. And just to show how good of a team AXA Simsport have been, Peter, they are leading the team's championship. Of course, there is no team's championship per se, but in terms of the points accumulated, AXA Simsport are right up there. Of course, helped by the fact that they have quite a few drivers, but their performances have been incredible too.
They certainly have. Funnily enough, here in the UK, AXA is an insurance company, car insurance, which is quite ironic considering what we've seen so far. Now we're looking at Rebecca Pauline. Now, is this a move up the inside at the Klein chicane? That never works, and there you go. Oh dear. Well, Rebecca's certainly been in the wars, and that will really hurt her chances in the consolation race, because the grid position is set by where you finish in your heat. So that's going to Rebecca now down to 19th position, showing on our timing screen right now. So that's going to put her on the 10th row of the grid for the consolation. So whoa, goodness me, God. Big moment there for the 163 machine of Marcel Jochheim, who's quite far down the order, but Alexei Nezov, of course, coming through there after that drive-through penalty.
Man, for Marcel Jochheim, it has been such a crazy race. Second in the AM category coming up into this particular round, but at the start, we just saw his race being compromised by so much, and now he finds himself in P22. Not ideal for him, not ideal for Rebecca Pauline as well. Just not the ideal one for them. But did you notice what I noticed, Peter? I think Nielsen just went for a rather absurd line there at one of those chicanes. I think that was the Telamenbocht. I hope I pronounced that correctly, but he really tried to cut it at the best extent possible. It's like he's just showing a sign of intent, but not really making the move right there. Not that he needs to at this stage.
Well, I wonder if he's thinking, I'll put Maxim Ramstein under as much pressure as I can and only go for a move if there is a mistake made by Ramstein. So it's a tough one. I mean, these guys are really, you're talking in the top echelons of the world for the Porsche 911 Cup car. These guys are experts. Of course, Maxim Ramstein races in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup as well. Now we've got a bit of a melee going on here. Look at Rebecca Pauline. She's thinking, oh, I'm keeping well out of the way of this carry-on. Gasses it up, opens up nearly 500 horsepower, but Donati there coming to shut the door hard, and then Pauline got nowhere to go going into turn one, into Erst, and whoa, there she goes. Oh, dearie me. It's fierce at the back there as well, and you can see Pauline up to 18th now as well, so every position here is going to be absolutely vital. You can see, for those looking at the lead battle, you'll see that Ramstein and Nielsen still absolutely glued together out on track. Meanwhile, and we need a third screen, we've got for 10th position, Westkop Psyker just hanging on to that last invite. Oh, Skittles there as well, but look at Nielsen. Nielsen, is he going to go up the inside on the final? Oh no, we're going to have one lap to go, I think. Into the Jackie X chicane they go, side by side. Is it going to be contact? Oh, it's so close. They must have rubbed paint there, but look at Nielsen. Gets a little bit of a run, a little bit of a love tap. They are going to get just one more lap. 7 seconds to go. White flag rather than checkered. 1 to go here, and Nelson, look at this, Nielsen going around the outside of Ramstein. Ramstein runs him out, goes to the inside. Final lap here at Zolder.
This is absolutely incredible. There's no other word for it. Nielsen puts his nose to the inside line, and Ramstein just blocks it off with such smartness. We knew that Nielsen would eventually pounce, so it's just a matter of time, and now right at the very end he has. Very few opportunities left for him now, Peter, to get a move done, and he kind of recognizes that, but the gap is still so close. If anything happens, like perhaps what happened to Brian Lockwood last time out, the result won't be so comfortable for the leader. Nielsen still so close, just having a pinpoint sort of aggression in his driving now. He seems so much more focused.
It's like he's had a grenade in his hand for all 19 and a half minutes of this race, and then finally now he's pulled the pin and thrown it at Maxim Ramstein. Amazing, but Ramstein's thinking, right, I've really got to get a shuffle on here. The checker flag being prepared at the flag stand. Round they go, through into Jochenrindt Bend, up towards the Jackie X chicane, and Ramstein looks like he's just got this. I don't think Nielsen is going to be close enough. He's not going to take it to or die move at it either. Ramstein hangs on, but what a finish to the second heat. There's only the heat race. We've still got the consolation and the feature to go. Nielsen flashes his lights, as does Kamil Grabowski, completing the podium, but a superb drive from Maxim Ramstein. Soumil, we've seen Ramstein lead from the front so many times, but they're showing that if he has to get his elbows out, he can.
He can. That was just amazing. It's like Nielsen just came up there and reminded everybody, this is who I am. This is the quality of my driving, and he kept it clean. A good driver, even though they may not be able to get the move on the last lap, he kept it clean and reminded Ramstein that, hey, you better watch your back, because in the feature race I'll be right there, and if I can do this once, I can do it again.
And you've got to give credit to Maxim Ramstein as well, who gave the room, both guys really at the peak of their powers. It takes way more skill to race that close and not hit each other than it does to just pile it up the inside and create an accident. Really, really top marks to both your winner Maxim Ramstein and runner-up Kevin Nielsen. And Kamil Grabowski, well, he must have been, I hope he was selling tickets, because he had the perfect seat to watch that battle in third, 1.2 seconds behind eventual winner Ramstein. Jeremy Lemire very quietly going about his business, finishing in fourth place. He'll start from the fourth row of the grid in the feature. Alexander Lauritsen will finish fifth, will start on the fifth row for the feature. Oscar Wilkins was sixth, followed by Kirill Kolobuksov, Andrew Precario. Gavin Halls for PorscheSport, getting another two automatic entries to the feature in a row for Gavin Halls. Make Weisskopf finishing in 10th, getting that last key invite to the feature race. So here are your drivers who will go through the consolation race. Cenk Ingsioglu will narrowly miss out on that automatic invite, but will start on the front row in the consolation race. Matthias Burke will finish 12th, followed by Marco Jaeger, Jaime Fierro, Nelson Costa de Souza, Martin Donati, Rebecca Pauline, Alexei Nezov, Wayne Sanderson and Marcel Jochheim in 20th. Steve Lavallee, Bastian Matler, Chris Walsh and James Parker will make out the rest of your field. So this is how they start for what could be the most exciting consolation race we have ever seen in the PorscheSport Carrera Cup. Thomas Gildalian will start on pole alongside Cenk Ingsioglu. Jan Schmitz and Matthias Burke will start on row 2, with Jake Robertson and Marco Jaeger starting on row 3. Nick Harwood will start 7th for Racecraft Esports alongside Jaime Fierro, with Gilheim Pipers and Nelson Costa de Souza rounding out your 5th row. David DeWitt will start 11th alongside Martin Donati. Row 7 will be Justin Rem and Rebecca Pauline, with Paul Szymanek and Alexei Nezov starting on row 8, and Alexander Hetmank and Marcel Jochheim starting on the 9th row. Last few runners here: Clement Andriot, Wayne Sanderson, Martin Spalek, Bastian Matler, Magnus Terkelsen and Chris Walsh rounding out row 12. And the last ones: Hendrik Lichtenhagen, Steve Lavallee, David Ward, James Parker and Kane Halliburton starting right at the very back of the consolation race. Remember, Kane Halliburton, fastest in free practice, so he has a lot of pace underneath that car. But Soumil, he's got to gain 19 positions in this race. The lights are just being prepared, the revs rise, the green flag is dropped, and off we go for the consolation race here at Zolder. 20 minutes, 10 cars go through to the feature race. Good move there from Jake Robertson up the inside at turn 1, but our leader Thomas Gildalian maintains from pole position and leads us into the opening sector.
Indeed, but we have a spinner. It's the 171 Cup. Pavel Chismanek right there at the back. His hopes for getting in the feature race have unfortunately been dashed at the very start, much like that of the 199 and the 1132. Oh goodness. Jaime Fierro has been taken out, and that also included, critically, Nick Harwood.
Oh, it's an absolute car park here. Roadblock on the straight down towards the Klein chicane. Chris Walsh involved. We've got one of the cast cars as well. The 12 machine of Kane Halliburton. Now, question is, did Kane Halliburton incur any damage getting through that melee? He'll be very lucky to get away with it, but not so much the damage, that's the time lost as well for Halliburton. Yeah. That's something that can happen here at Zolder. It's very, very narrow going down that back straight there, and the road can actually block in some cases.
And Peter, you know something interesting? Or rather not interesting if you want Marcel Jochheim? It is Marcel Jochheim involved in that accident. He is in P28, and that also caught up Magnus Sturkelsen. Two drivers who've shown so much great potential in this championship. Man, that sucks. But at the top, check in Seoglu making a move down the inside line at turn number 1. And he's got it done.
That's a superb move there from Senking Seoglu. Really, really impressive. More difficult to pull off that move than it is to pronounce his name. I'm so sorry, Senk, if I'm getting your name wrong. I do apologise. But in that move, Senking Seoglu has opened up the door for Jake Robertson, who took no chances straight through on Gilda Lane, who goes from first to third in 2 corners. And look at Robertson now, running for Apex Racing Team, of course. One of the teams that run right up the very front of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, and also commissioned to run the Rahal Lederman Lanigan Esport team. So the setup that will be on Jake's car, I mean, he's a super driver, World Championship Rallycross driver in the iRacing world, but a very, very, very good on the road as well. That car will have a proper setup in it, don't make no mistake about that.
Indeed, yeah, the Apex Racing Team proper champions, and now he attacks. Robertson to the inside line, Robertson to the lead as well. Seoglu tries to fight back by going on the inside line yet again for this one. It is intense door-to-door action, and quite frankly, this is what the PorscheSport Carrera Cup is all about.
And this is last chance saloon for all of these drivers. They need to make sure they're up front. Only 10 spots going to the feature race. Now we've got a problem for the 33 of Alexei Nezov. It's been a nightmare evening for the Russian driver, Real World GT racer, and he's got suspension damage. He is done.
Such a shame, Alexei Nezov. Oh.
So back at the front then, 16 minutes to go here at Zolder. We're in the early stages of the Consolation race, and you can see there's a proper angry buzz of drivers here. Robertson, Seoglu, Gilda Lane, Burke and Jaeger all within 1.5 seconds or so. And Rebecca Pauline, tell you what, Rebecca Pauline, the cat with 9 lives, is right up there. Look at that, Rebecca in the 15 car, right in the middle of this absolute mess. We see, now I missed that, was Pavel Chismanek getting twirled around there in the melee going around turn 1. Now this is where things get really ugly indeed. The 199 of Nick Harwood for Racecraft Esports. But where does this all... Oh, that's bizarre. It looks like Nick... Oh no. Nick Harwood gets it lit up, just makes his own mistake. Lit up, just coming out the corner, cold tyres, wiggles around, and unfortunately the trajectory of the accident just put him into the path of the innocent drivers coming into his path here. You can see kicks off a proper domino effect. Alexander Hetmank doing nothing wrong and getting turfed into the gravel there. Absolutely no intention or malice in any of that, Soumil, but a lot of casualties.
Yeah, I kind of expected that to happen in the first Consolation, not the first, the only Consolation race. Because there are so many drivers vying for position, you do see incidents like this one. And as unpretty as they may be, and as many people as they may take out, it's just a part of the game. It is exactly what happens in every Consolation race in that particular mid-pack, which is why there is such a great importance of getting something done in the heat races. That urgency is real. And then Alexei Nezov, right? It's so sad to see him just being blipped over. That's the word I was looking
it was
for.
a bit of an ambitious move, but you kind of, to be honest, in the consolation race, we're going to see moves like that. It's and it just rejoins into the path of another driver there, but oh, what a day in the wars for Alexei Nezov as well. Now we can see Jake Robertson now opening up a half a second advantage over Insiglioglu. So that, I tell you what, Jake Robertson driving his socks off here as well. Still a young man, still I think 16 is Jake. He was the youngest driver in the iRacing World Rallycross Championship at the end of last year, but driving beautifully here in that 22 car as well. You can see a couple of his Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup teammates in the YouTube chat as well, Johan Harf and Zach Campbell. Hello chaps, I hope you're enjoying the racing as much as we are, Soumil.
But yeah, absolutely. Who knows, maybe next season they could be on the grid as well. Just teasing the opportunity for that happening, but that would be amazing. But Jake Robertson, he's not letting it easy. He just was sliding around, and the Alkintech.com replay shows David DeWitt having a hard impact. And I'm not sure, Peter, what kind of damages would you get if you did that in real life?
You'd certainly damage your bank account, that's for sure. And these are not cheap cars to run, apparently. Apparently, for a season of Carrera Cup UK, £250,000 just to run the season.
That's not a lot of money.
That's a lot of wedge, as they say. Mind you, a week's wages for a footballer.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
What will they do without those week's wages? I can imagine. Hard life.
I know. Could they just give just 1 week's wages to one racing driver to come and drive a Porsche Cup car? But the problem is then if you stack it, you can be that again, of course. The panels, I'm sure, are not cheap. But, of course, you've got a very well-stocked Porsche truck at every race with a full suite of parts that they'll gladly sell you. Anyway, back to the action, of course. You can make as much mess as you want here in the sim, and, well, all for the very reasonable price of whatever an iRacing subscription is these days. It seems to change. Anyway, 12 minutes to go. Now, this is where it's going to get very, very nasty and very, very ugly, I think, because at the moment, Nelson Costa de Souza has the last spot in the feature race. The very last chance just before the music stops. Now, Lavalley is in 11th. Kane Halliburton as well. Well, tell you what, Kane Halliburton up to 12th already. Bearing in mind he started in 29th, Soumil. That's quite extraordinary. So obviously got through that big roadblock without too much damage.
Yeah, we knew Kane Halliburton has a great amount of pace. We knew he would be making up positions in this consolation race. But to this extent, that has been very, very impressive. But he still has to get a couple more to get his way into the elusive feature race. And it's been a topsy-turvy day for Racecraft Esports so far. In one place, having Brian Lockwood win the first heat and Sam Coyton in third. We've seen Halliburton having such a topsy-turvy day on the other hand. So it's been bittersweet. It's been tricky. But considering the way things are going so far, we could see all of the drivers in the feature race eventually.
I think that's, of course, we've got 8 chances throughout the season to be able to do that. Sorry, 7, my apologies, to be able to do that. And of course, 6 out of the 7 rounds counting towards points. So you can afford to have one shocker. And I suspect Alexei Nezov has had his shocker, hopefully, here today at Zolder. You can see Chris Walsh there in 15th position for PorscheSport.com eSports in the 4 car. Now, Chris was held up in that melee, picked up a little bit of damage, but is still carrying on. Properly tenacious competitor is Chris, and in 15th, 10 minutes to go. Still, it's going to be a tough ask to make up 7 seconds to the top 10, but stranger things have happened, particularly at Zolder.
A lot of strange things. We've seen cars fly, we've seen them turned around, we've seen them flipped over, we've seen crazy amounts of smoke, we've seen them dead and buried in the gravel trap. What else? Well, where else can a car be at Zolder, Peter? Perhaps on one of the solar panels that we have here at the circuit?
If it was my car, I'd park after the race, of course. Park it up outside the friture where they're selling the fries and the special dipping mayonnaise, and then go to the bar.
You're making me hungry. I haven't had a very heavy dinner. That's tantalising, Peter.
That's a cruel thing to do to a co-commentator. I'm sorry. As you see, look at this from the 169 machine at the Gilles Villeneuve chicane. Going up the inside there, the 169 car, which is. I've lost my position on my timing screen. Help me out here, Soumil. David Ward. Now, that means something. David Ward now up to 13th position. Now, he'll struggle to catch Kane Halliburton, but a couple of bits of problems for those up ahead. That could have been a pivotal move to get a spot in the feature.
Indeed, yeah. Lots of drama happening in the lower midfield pack. It's for that elusive 10th position. And yet again, the moment we get to the 7-minute mark, that is normally when all the drama surrounding P10 comes in handy. So if you are at this very moment Nelson Costa de Souza, you've got to watch out, because that P10, it often is a very shaky place to be in around this particular mark, but he looks very comfortable, and in fact he wants to change that P10 into a P9, because up ahead is Monaco Esports' Bastien Matler, who's slipping and sliding around. And I think Peter, last season Bastien was very impressive, wasn't he? But he hasn't quite had the best of starts of this year.
Yeah, I think that the level has risen dramatically. I mean, we had a fantastic opening season in the PorscheSport Carrera Cup, and it was brilliant to see so many of the drivers in the championship were campaigning straight away for a second season, and to have not only to have a second season full stop, but to see the quality of drivers. We can't stress it enough that even in this consolation race, we have got some of the best drivers on the iRacing service in this particular car, which is just fantastic to see. I mean, Kane Halliburton, as we said, fastest in practice and making his way through and showing that it can be done. If you start all the way from the back of the consolation race, if you really, really push, you can just about get into the feature, but you'll have to do it all again in the feature, of course. Big oversteer there for Jake Robertson. Now, he's used to being on the loose. He's used to a car moving around underneath him, but he's also used to having four-wheel drive in his rallycross car, which he doesn't have the luxury of in this Porsche Cup car. So Nsioglu will have seen that and thought, another move, another big wiggle there on the exit of Lucien Bianchi Bend. Into Klein chicane they go. There's still a few laps to go here, so Jake Robertson still with work to do, and big jump over the Klein chicane.
And I don't know about you guys, but Jake Robertson is really being so entertaining for me. Not just by leading from the front, but he's slipping and sliding, he's jumping over the curbs, he's putting up a proper show right here from the Apex Racing team. But that just means that Cenk Nsioglu is smelling blood. He can see that Robertson is not in his peak driving condition. He is making a few minor mistakes here and there, and that opens up critically for him a big window to get a feature race win. Now, not only will this mean a better qualifying position in the feature race, but it will also be a great thing for his pride, for the momentum that Cenk Nsioglu can carry up for that feature race. How big of a win will that be for him, if of course he can get past Jake?
Well, we shall see. Nsioglu here, he will be, like you said, Soumil, I think he will get a lot of motivation from seeing the little moments here and there that Jake Robertson is having. Now, what has happened to Chris Walsh here at Alcontech.com replay, showing us going through the Villeneuve chicane, and loops it around, and oh dear. And it's not been an easy day for Chris Walsh. He's bound to be tired, because it was just him and Jacob Toffs doing a 12-hour race at Spa yesterday, so probably needing his bed.
The 12-hour race, which they won.
Exactly, they did indeed. Yes, so maybe had a good celebration last night as well. I certainly hope so. Anyway, I hope Luke Holroyd from PorscheSport has been laying on some hospitality for them since they had such a good day on track. As we see Kane Halliburton, this is the pass. Nelson Costa de Souza, 119 in the red car in front. He's holding that last invite to the feature race at the moment. But you think this is more a matter of when rather than if.
Indeed, he seems to have the pace advantage. He seems to have more confidence. It's all about finding the right spot here at Zolder, and that right spot can be a bit limited, you know. It is a track that is tight, twisty, whatever you'd like to call it. and maybe this is the one, and on the outside I doubt that's going to work. Of course it isn't, so instead he goes for the cutback, which doesn't quite work out for Kane Halliburton. But turn 1, Peter, turn 1 is the place where I think this move is going to be done.
I think you could be right, Soumil. Yeah, in turn 1, at least it's quite a wide entry as well. So you can see Halliburton getting a good drive off the corner, using that classic Porsche drive grip, using that rear engine layout to the advantage rather than the disadvantage. Has a look up the inside. Costa de Souza's not going to let him have it easy. Lets a little bit of room, but that gives him the inside for turn 2. But lunges up. This is the last chance. Saloon lunges up the inside, but Halliburton just has the edge. We know Kane Halliburton, one of the very best drivers in the world in the radical SR8 here on iRacing, but very, very good in the Porsche Cup car as well. And there you have it, folks. He has his invite for the feature race with 3 minutes and 50 seconds to spare. Amazing.
Now my question for Kane Halliburton right now is he satisfied with just that? Or can he also go in there and get one position up on Bastien Matler? Because Bastien is right there in his vision, in his eyesight. So when you see a target right in front of your eyes, it automatically seems more closer, I'm sorry for you. I just had to eat my words, right? Because right there we saw Nelson Costa de Souza having a half slide, which he held on. I couldn't have done that. That is good driving.
Yeah, you've got to be on top of these cars. They're on a knife edge. It's a proper race car, the 911 Cup machine, and you really got to be ahead of it as well. Now, a little bit further forward, we've got the 103 of the Lion, former, of course, our pole sitter and former leader of the race, in third, with the 138 of Matthias Burke behind, and Rebecca Pauline, the comeback kid, in 5th position. So that will give... that will give 25th position on the grid for the feature race. So I tell you what, considering how difficult a heat race Rebecca had with lots going wrong, and a lot of which not her fault, to get a feature race slot is a brilliant effort indeed.
It is, yeah, and it takes some mental strength to come back from something like this one, because as a racing driver on a sim, it is just so easy for you to just stop the car in a quite convenient corner and press escape and just get rid of the misery, some would call it. But it is not misery driving a Porsche Carrera. I almost said PorscheSport Carrera Cup car, unfortunately. Not for unfortunately. I hope someday that really happens, you know. Who knows what could be happening. But it takes some commitment to come back from an incident like that, is what I'm trying to say. And the fact that Rebecca is actually going on there, keeping herself on the edge and just fighting for those positions, is a testament to the kind of attitude she's carrying in here today.
Well, she certainly races for the correct team, fiercely forward. She's certainly, as we say, not backwards in coming forwards, not shy, which is what we like to see. And putting some super pressure here on Matthias Burke, who's not having an easy time of it, with Rebecca Pauline filling his mirrors in the beautiful fiercely forward machine, the yellow and black car, the Bumblebee spec. I have to say I do like the Cherry Cola version that they have, which is basically the same but red and black.
Now that I haven't had the experience in, unfortunately, but that livery is beautiful, isn't it? They've switched away from just the black and yellow now. They're going towards more color schemes, but the traditional one just looks the best, doesn't it?
Possibly, yes. I do like Bumblebee. Although I did have a car which I called Bumblebee. Actually, I had a Lotus that was yellow with black kind of trim on it, so it became known as Bumblebee. But Jake Robertson leading very confidently indeed, despite heavy pressure from Insiglioglu. Now, are they going to catch a white flag to have one more lap, or will they have the checkered flag to close the race? It's going to be very, very tight indeed. I think it might just be white flag, which is not what Jake Robertson wants to see. He would much prefer for it to be the checkered, but it's going to be very, very tight once again, like we saw in heat number 2 with Ramsden and Kevin Nielsen. But coming over the line, they go 8, 7, 6. Is it going to be a checkered? Is it going to be white flag? It is going to be white flag. So we keep racing. One more lap here at Zolder, and well, Jake Robertson just got to go hit his marks one more time, and he will be going through as the top winner of the consolation race and into the feature race. Now, what has happened? Oh,
no.
Oh my. Oh lordy. Oh dear.
Poor old Hendrik Lichtenhagen.
James Parker probably feeling a little bit. He'll be feeling a little bit sorry at the moment. I would think he might feel a bit sheepish. He'll be probably going, "Sorry, milady." That's Parker from Thunderbirds.
Now, how many accidents have we seen here today, Peter? Unfortunately, so many people, unfortunately, being taken out in this consolation race. But what I'm curious about is, has someone run out of fuel? Because in the consolation race, perhaps some drivers wanting to just fuel exactly the amount needed for exactly the laps needed. Who knows, maybe someone might have underfueled, and this might be a bit of an unfortunate scenario for them having one extra lap. I hope not, but...
Well, that would be really, really frustrating if that is the case, but Jake Robertson at the moment coming up towards the Jackie X chicane for the final time in this consolation race. Round he comes, and it's going to be Jake Robertson for the Apex Racing team. What a drive from a little bit further into the pack, but gets the win from Cenk Insioglu. Gildelion will be third, Matthias Burke fourth, and Rebecca Pauline, great drive, to fifth. Marco Jaeger in sixth, seventh will be Jan Schmitz, and Kane Halliburton 29th on the grid to 8th overall. Fantastic stuff.
Insane. What an incredible recovery drive that was. But what happened to Justin Rem on the final lap? This is what happened. And you know what, Peter? He still made it in. Oh, Justin Rem. Now that must have been a high pressure situation for the sim racing Loft Volanti car. But he's still in there in the feature race. Only just making it. High stakes poker.
Yeah, I don't think he really needed that heart rate rise. But yes, like you say, gets that last spot. He'll start at the very back of the grid for the feature, but he's in the feature, and that's where all the big points are handed out. Well, we will have a look at the results. Here we go then, confirming Jake Robertson for the Apex Racing team, just edging out Cenk Insioglu by 0.4 of a second. Thomas Gildelion, pole sitter and former leader, 5.5 seconds back, but on the podium. Matthias Burke was fourth, with Rebecca Pauline in fifth. Marco Jaeger was sixth, followed by Jan Schmitz, Kane Halliburton, Bastian Matler, and Justin Rem getting that very last spot in the feature race. And unfortunately, all the names you see on screen right now will be unfortunately watching. Well, I hope they'll enjoy watching the feature race here on RaceSpot TV. And they are Nelson Costa de Souza, David Ward, Steve Lavallee, James Parker, Hendrik Lichtenhagen, Chris Walsh, Jaime Fierro, Clement Andriot, Alexander Hepmank, and Martin Spalek, rounding out the top 20. In the last few, Wayne Sanderson, Martin Donati, Nick Harwood, David DeWitt, Paul Szymanek, Alexei Nezov, Marcel Jochheim, Magnus Terkelsen, and Gilheim Pipers. So, 30 cars then for our feature race. The drivers just going for a very quick warm-up while we have a bit of a cool down, Soumil.
Oh yeah, we can preview the race coming up and just look back on the three races that we had right there. And seriously, we've seen some late race drama in every one of them. In the first heat, we saw Brian Lockwood making just a minor mistake right there that could have opened up a big door. And then, of course, in the second heat race, we saw all the drama that happened. I think it was Nazov who had that incident as well, right? And also then the battle for the lead with Nielsen pushing out something for Maxime Ramstein. But Volanti Racing coming up and then spotting the drama that happened right there, with Justin Rem giving them a heart attack right there. Almost giving them a heart attack. Now, what kind of end of the race drama are we going to see right here, Peter? Because the feature race, seriously, has got the biggest stakes on up there.
Well, this is where it gets very high stakes indeed for the feature race. And well, is it going to be Kevin Nielsen? Is it going to be Brian Lockwood? It's great to see Brian Lockwood up there fighting at the front. You know, we know we're used to having Maxim Ramstein at the front. We're used to having Kevin Nielsen there, but Brian Lockwood has sometimes not had everything go his own way. But tell you what, it's going to be fascinating seeing him fight there from the front row.
Oh yeah, that should be so much fun. We're gonna have two World Championship drivers right up there, Brian Lockwood and then Maxim Ramstein. But just because they're World Championship drivers does not mean that the competition below them is not good enough. In fact, Kevin Nielsen and Gonzo Tasdalen gave them such a hard time last time out at Mid-Ohio. Tasdalen hasn't quite found the same run of momentum so far in this particular race meeting, but he's not too far off, Peter, still in the top 5 itself.
As you can see, a number of the drivers, you can see them all coming out of pit lane doing some practice starts. Getting this car off the line is not exactly straightforward, as we see. Oh, the 47 car there getting it a little bit wrong, to say the least. There's a practice start, but as you can see, our Porsche 911 pace car parked in the front of pit lane, so that means we are almost ready to go. Brian Lockwood will start on pole position for this feature race here at Zolder, with Maxim Ramstein joining him on the front row. Row 2 will be Quentin Bialati and Kevin Nielsen, with Sam Koiter and Kamil Grabowski starting on the third row of the grid. Row 4 will be Gonzo Tasdalen and Jeremy Lemire, with Florian Lebiger and Alexander Lauritsen rounding out row 5. Suelo Almeida and Oscar Wilkins will start on the 6th row, with Vince Peters and Kirill Kolobuksov rounding out row 7. Row 8 will be Pascal Costa and Andrew Precario, with Nick Schulte-Wisserman and Gavin Halls, the Vampire, starting in 18th. Dylan Burse and Mike Wiskopsaiker will start on the 10th row, followed by Jake Robertson, Senk Insioglu, Thomas Gildelion and Matthias Burke. And row 13 will be Rebecca Pauline and Marco Jaeger. Behind them will be Jan Schmitz and Kane Halliburton, with Bastian Matler and Justin Rem rounding out your 30-strong grid. A very, very strong grid indeed here at Zolder. As you can see, a couple of our more keen drivers getting out there and taking to the grid. This was always a thing that Casey Stoner used to do in the MotoGP Championship, Soumil, where he would always be, he was often on pole, and he would always be the last person to take his grid spot, and that was to keep a bit more temperature in the tyre.
Now that's a smart thing, isn't it? Because if you just stay waiting at the grid for a longer time, your tyre temperatures will end up being cooler. Not so much in the sim, where everyone starts off on exactly the same temperatures, but the temperature in the mine, Peter, the kind of heat that's been generated in this championship, some feeling the pressure more than the others, but I think in this one, we should see the intensity turned up to 11.
That we will. You can see we're just waiting on our pole sitter, Brian Lockwood. We know Brian is he's a relaxed guy, and there he is in the number 43 machine. The 29 of Maxim Ramstein for Corsim Racing is your front row. Who will be the victor today? Let's find out. The lights are rising. We are about ready to go here at Zolder. 30 minutes of racing, and we are green for the feature race here at Zolder in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup. And it's a great start from Lockwood and Ramstein. Ramstein there in second position. The 17 of Quentin Bialati, a little bit of a hip check there from Ramstein. And we've got, oh, but be careful. Oh, we've got, I think that is the 44 of Justin Wilkins, Oscar Wilkins. And really ran back onto the track, right into the path of the coming cars. And Kevin Nielsen there in fourth position as well, so maintaining his spot of a huge crash at the Lucien Bianchi bend as well. So quite a few drivers hitting problems early on in this race.
That was absolutely crazy. That kind of speed that I saw the car crashing right there in the barriers, not usual. That's the best way to put it. We shall take a quick look at that in the Alcantec.com replay. But at the top, Peter, still so good. Lockwood holding out Ramstein. And now we're seeing this in the midfield when a Porsche Sport car has hit Rebecca Pauline. The carnage is back again. And yes, 3 out of 3 races for Rebecca. 3 out of 3 times where they have been hit.
Oh dear, looked like a mistake there from Gavin Halls. What a pity. And it looked like a pretty heavy impact too at the Gilles Villeneuve chicane, but we carry on. And Kirill Kolobuksov there in the Wild Animals machine, just behind Kane Halliburton. So Kolobuksov in the 55 car. Now Halliburton up to 18th spot from 28th on the grid. So you just wonder if that Oh, if his heat had gone a bit better, Halliburton would definitely be up with his Racecraft Esports teammate. And look at Kenton Violati stuffing it up the inside of Maxim Ramstein. And look at Brian Lockwood. Just as these guys are fighting, Lockwood sees his opportunity and he's opening it up. And Violati all over the headlight flasher, really getting very, very frisky at the front here as well. And this is Merry, Merry Christmas for Brian Lockwood in the lead.
It absolutely is. He's pulled out a gap of a second at the top, but something tells me, Peter, that Quinton Violati is not going to be as patient as he was in the heat race. Here, there seems to be a greater sense of urgency. He wants to get the move done on one Maxim Ramstein right here, right now, but he's also got to be aware of the fact that Kevin Nielsen is just right behind him. One minor mistake, and the winner of the last round of Mid-Ohio, who looks so confident today, could be right there picking up P3. This looks like an all-star race of sorts, Peter. The top 5, and in fact for that matter, a top 7, no, top 10, oh man, and the entire grid looks so promising. All of them potential race winners. I don't even know who's going to get there eventually. Brian Lockwood should have a big challenge incoming from so many other drivers in the next 26 odd minutes.
Indeed, yes, he will. But this is Brian Lockwood's opportunity now to get a gap. Now, let's see what happened to Oscar Wilkins. He's in there, Kamil Grabowski as well, and Wilkins looks like he just gets tipped around. Now, this is, weird. Now, actually, luckily, all of the cars had gone by, so it wasn't a problem coming back onto the track, but Dylan Burst getting very much nudged out there as well. Now, was it Dylan who got involved there? Gets a big shunt from one of the Fugger cars, and dear me, maybe Dylan Burst will be pronouncing that in a slightly different way.
Not in a very pleasant way, that is.
No, definitely not. It won't be pronouncing the oo as an oo. Just getting onto the grass there, Gavin Halls, nothing he could do there. Not exactly sure how he ended up on the grass in the first place, but there's a lot of attrition so far here at Zolder, and it's just such a tight, technical, tricky circuit. It's always danger around every corner.
There always is danger around every corner, and someone who recognizes that and wants to convert that danger into opportunity is one Cenk Inseoglu in that golden and purple liveried Team Anatolia livery card. Team Anatolia card, that is, on screen right now. And it's interesting, right? Cenk Inseoglu was so good in the consolation race, and now he's just showing that level of excitement in this one too. Consistently putting his car on the inside line, Peter, whenever he has the chance. So that may compromise his exit just a little bit, but his teammate is doing something special now. Gonzo Tasdalen defending from Sam Coitert, but Coitert moving to the outside line. This is a battle I would pay to watch. Thankfully, it's free on RaceSpot TV.
Indeed, yeah, all free and live here on RaceSpotTV, and Cenk Inseoglu doing a fantastic job here, because you remember he came through the consolation race, so to be up there in 14th overall in the feature, absolutely superb stuff as well. Now, Sam Coitert, now we have, it looks like in the 28 car now. I'm really caught out here. Tasdalen there also in the gold and purple machine. Now, no. My word, that's a big one. Oh dear.
And to put that into context, Peter, Alexander Lauritsen, the driver who you saw having that crash, P4 in the championship for AXA Simsport, heading into this round. I know it's only 2 rounds in, but that is huge. Coitert to the inside.
Yeah, Sam Coitert, he's a hard racer. It's a big nudge there as well from Tasdalen in the number 5 car as well, but Coitert will not accept that. We know that Coitert, one of the hardest racers in the championship, very much like his countryman Max Verstappen, leaves absolutely nothing in the garage. You can see Grabowski there as well. He's very, very quick in 9th position too. So this top 10, as you mentioned it being an all-star race, Soumil, you're absolutely spot on. Now, great start as well from Jake Robertson, our consolation race winner, which meant he started 21st up to 14th, Soumil. Great start from him too.
It's been some fight back from Jake Robertson, and that's been the case of the entire race meeting here for him today. Having a very unfortunate heat race, but in the consolation, man, he was on fire, and he's showing that same level of performance right here in the feature race. Focus on Coulthard now. He looks at... Don't do that, Sam. That is a bad place to make a move, and he recognises that very, very early on. So Sam Coulthard just staying as close as he possibly can to Gonzo Tasdalen and trying to look for a repeat at turn number 1. And Sam Coulthard, ladies and gentlemen, in that number 28 Racecraft esports car, a past Dutch karting champion at an age group level. A national champion right there, who's also translated into great growth in sim racing. Ever since he's come on into professional sim racing last year, he's just grown and grown and grown and grown. And remember, Peter, the last season he was with Volante Racing Team. Now with Racecraft, Coulthard has grown quite a fair bit, but he's up against one Gonzo Tasdalen, who we didn't see last season, but instantly coming up and making an impact here in this championship.
Ooh, Coulthard having a big look there, but had to back out at the very last moment. The 5 of Tasdalen just hanging on to the spot. And you can see the other Racecraft car there, the number 99 of Almeida, and Lebiger making his life very, very difficult for Roman Grosjean's RHG Junior Esports, and he goes through, so gets the pass done. Great move there from Florian Lebiger.
Yeah, just giving Almeida a very, very hard time, as if he hasn't had enough hard times already in this particular race meeting. So clearly not going in his direction, but there's enough time for Soumil Almeida to come back and get an even better result. But right now we are riding on board with Sam Coulthard, and that was a violent change of direction. Gonzo Tasdalen clearly not making his way work out with the curbs, and his car just got shook up to the core, as it does at that very corner. This gives an opening to Sam Coulthard. He senses the kind of instability in Tasdalen, and Sam Coulthard, like a predator, will bounce right about now.
That just shows you how the commitment required to be this quick at a circuit like Zolder when you're going through the Klein chicane. That is, you know, I think there's some chicanes which are just misery on tarmac, but
Seriously.
There are other chicanes which are just, you really need to be a proper driver. I mean, for example, the bus stop at Daytona, absolutely love it. It's a real challenge. Never get it right. Every time you might get the entry right or you might get the exit right, but never both at the same time, as we see. Here goes Coulthard. Coulthard having a look up the inside, and Tasdalen sees it coming. He tries to hook it round the outside and just about hangs on. Brilliant stuff there from Tasdalen, and Coulthard's thinking, wait a minute, I thought I had that move done and dusted. Absolutely not. But yes, the Klein chicane, although I think a lot of drivers don't like it because it's difficult, but when you get it right, if you get it right, it's fantastic, and that's what a proper driver's corner should be all about. Any other you can see, look at the speed you've got to carry through there to make sure you've got the lap time to compete.
Seriously, I think you're absolutely spot on with that, Peter. It's not light because if it's a difficult corner, it breaks up the momentum, and just nailing it correctly every time is hard. And maybe that's the case with Zolder as a whole. As Gonzo Tasdalen, yet again, it seems like he can't just find a direct footing on this car, Peter. He just doesn't look very confident today. Slipping and sliding around, and quite the opposite of what we saw at Mid-Ohio. Perhaps the challenge of Zolder, a track that's very, very hard to master, getting onto him.
It is, and I think that's what makes Zolder a really interesting prospect, and I think it should be included in a lot more calendars, because it really puts the driver under the cosh. And we've got such a depth of field here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup that we really do want to really put the drivers to the ultimate test. And here goes Coulthard again. He's going to have another look at Erst. Nope, once again, Tasdalen just shutting the door. Look how they're using all of the road there on the X. It shows you how much they're on the limit as well. So Tasdalen, Coulthard, Lebiger, Almeida and Grabowski all together. Absolutely neck and neck on pace. I mean, I tell you what, Soumil, if you're at the front of this group and you sneeze, you make one tiny mistake and you're going to get freight trained, as we see at, oh no, oh god, oh, this is side by side into, oh god, this never works, oh no, oh, did they get through? No,
Did it?
Oh dear, Tasdalen, unfortunately, and you got to feel for Gonzo Tasdalen there as well, because he's probably going, no, don't do it, Sam, don't do it. Oh, you've done it.
but fair play to Sam Coyton, he's made it work. And Jake Robertson's right there, and so he just compounds on Tasdalen's misery. He spun out.
Dear.
Oh no! Oh, the agony.
Oh, this is, well, Zolder. This is Zolder, yeah. Oh dear, that's gutting for Jake Robertson. He did have to go for that. There was an opportunity. Tasdalen was still recovering. It was a good chance to pick the pocket and move on. Otherwise, someone else would have gone for it. And of course, at the Gilles Villeneuve chicane, it's such a tricky chicane, a lot more angled than the Klein chicane. So let's see here. Yeah. 2 into 1 doesn't go. One of those.
Yeah, especially at this particular corner. At anywhere in Zolder, 2 into 1 does not go. But to the initial move, Peter, to Sam Coyton's move, that I think was a bit naughty, making a move right there, as every single driver would say. But it was smart in the way that he knew that Tasdalen just had to back out. Or if he didn't back out, this was what would happen. And that is exactly what has happened. Tasdalen did spin out eventually. He just took the chance. There was a very limited probability that that move would come out in the best way possible for Sam Coyton, and it has. But what about Tasdalen, right? A clear potential challenger for the race wins. Where is he? Tasdalen is 14th, and he's also taken out Jake Robertson side by side with him.
I think that's a very good, very good description, Soumil. That was exactly what Coyton did, that intimidation tactic where he was alongside, he was within his rights to have a look, and oh no, we can see Tasdalen now on the recovery. But yeah, very much a really clever racecraft there from Coyton. It is really a very, very firm move, as firm as you could possibly go, and it's almost that sort of like. Yeah, well, yeah. Of course you can. Of course you can take my sister out for dinner, but just wait. What happens when you get back? See what I want to do about it. Thankfully, I don't have a sister. I don't have to worry about that.
But Violate in the gravel. I'm so sorry, Peter, for cutting you off right there. But Quintin Violate made a move on Maxime Ramstein, but it did not work. Turn 1, that's what I said at the top of the broadcast. It is so easy to carry, too much speed right there. Violate learning it on the hard way, and with that, it's not nothing ventured, nothing gained. He loses a spot to one Kevin Nielsen.
Well, this could change the complexion of the race completely, because we saw how much pressure Kevin Nielsen was putting on Ramstein in their heat race. Now, Brian Lockwood has done exactly what he needed to do. When he saw these guys battling away behind, he's laid down the pace. 131.1 last time around. 2/10 quicker than Ramstein, 4/10 quicker than Violate. So very, very quick pace there from Brian Lockwood, and now has a 3.2 second advantage, and we're just reaching the halfway mark. So Ramstein doesn't appear to have the pace for Lockwood, because to be honest, he's too busy trying to fight off Violate and Nielsen, and he's not able to really lay down the absolute one lap pace that he's got. But you wonder, if Nielsen or Violate were released, would that be different? I'm not sure.
See, that's a good question now, Peter. That's what I'm thinking. So looking at the lap times, Kevin Nielsen and Quintin Violate also lapping it around the 131s. Very much like Maxime Ramstein, but they are a couple of tenths quicker, but not able to get past. That's the critical point. But Brian Lockwood, he's lapping in the the high 30s and the low 1 minute 31s, unlike the guys behind him. So the critical point here is, are we seeing Nielsen and Violate being held up by Ramstein, and that is why they're not able to push for a challenge? Who knows, maybe they could have more pace in the bag, but first they have to get past Maxime Ramstein, and that's like getting past Edward van der Sar, right? That doesn't happen very often, does it?
I'm going to pretend I know who that is, Soumil, but
Man United
yes,
goalkeeper, won the Champions League with them, and he's Dutch.
Sounds like he's quite good at it. Yes, absolutely. I like that. I like the fact that there's a national reference there. Good. I like it. Riding inside Quintin Violate's Porsche 911 Cup car. So although he made a bit of a mistake there, lost a position or two, back on the go, no damage, no harm done, apart from, of course, the position So he's now get a bit of a study to see where Kevin Nielsen and indeed Maxim Ramstein, where they're quick, maybe where they're not as quick compared to Violati. Of course, we are talking in relative terms. All three of these guys are superhuman in their ability. Now, again, hello to you all. Brilliant, a number of you all watching on RaceSpot TV here today. Daniel Ramos says, I love this channel. We love you too, Daniel Ramos.
And what makes us love this channel is this battle.
Yes.
Kevin Nielsen to the outside of Ramstein, and Violati almost had a chance once again. What are these guys? This is incredible. And now Nielsen taking the sharper line too. This battle is not ending sometime soon, Peter. This is amazing.
Wow. Well, you're getting it. You can see the fleck in that lovely blue shiny paint scheme on the nose of Kevin Nielsen's car, and Violati's watching this going, I might just give this a metre or two further back because this could get very, very spicy indeed. And my word, you are just taking a deep breath and really taking a kind of leap of faith there at the Klein chicane. And isn't that what a good racing corner or a sequence of corners is all about? It just shows you that if you do a chicane properly, it really adds value.
Exactly, and I love the fact that he brought up the Daytona bus stop chicane, because just like that, you have to swing your way and find the right amount of momentum. And as you rightly said, Peter, it just never is perfect. There's always some room to get it better. But the moment you do, the kind of satisfaction that you get, it's just absolutely phenomenal. But same for these guys, right? What happens when you successfully execute a move? Now, some may say that we want racers with more overtakes. I say not really. If the overtakes are hard to come by, they increase the value of each overtake, add more drama. And with these three folks, you may not see the most overtakes in the world, but you see the kind of intensity with each and every pass that is happening so often.
Now, what? Oh, dear me. Poor old Rebecca Pauline. She has been in the wars tonight, Soumil, but I am very confident that we're going to see what we had two nightmare rounds for Rebecca Pauline in these opening two rounds here in the PorscheSport Carrera Cup, but a lot of which because not to do with her, and I am confident that when it does come together at some point over this season, we're going to see her fighting for at least an overall top 10.
Exactly, but what's been really impressive is the attitude that Rebecca has been carrying, right? Regardless of whatever circumstances have been having, pushing on, constantly trying to make the best of whatever they have right there. So that's a real plus. And you want to see things like that, right? That is what inspires you for the great sporting stories. Whenever you're having a setback of sorts, you don't just throw the game away and quit or press Alt F4. You try and fight back to the best of your abilities, and that's what Rebecca has done.
I totally agree with you. Yep, I love the tenacity where you carry on, and in this particular championship, you just never know what can happen in front. There can be a big pile-up, and all of a sudden you gain 4 or 5 places, and that means big points, especially here in the feature race. Now here we go. Nielsen, look at the run. Nielsen's got nearly in the pit lane. Wow, pit wall. Sorry. Wow, and Nielsen has a rub with Ramstein, and he's oh my goodness me! Well, flashing the lights won't do anything. Hit the brake. Oh, now did he hit the guardrail? I think he maybe did. And look at Ramstein now. He's got to worry about Violati. They rubbed as they went into turn 1. It's one of the quickest corners on the circuit. Ramstein still hangs on to second. Nielsen's got going again, so he's still in the sort of in the battle for the podium, and if he doesn't have any damage, you got to think he will be driving very, very angry now, and an angry Kevin Nielsen, I suspect, is a very fast Kevin Nielsen. So here is our Alcantech.com replay. Now Ramstein gave him about a Porsche 911's width there, fair enough. Up the inside Nielsen goes, and actually I think Nielsen just didn't quite hit his braking point. I personally can't see anything that Ramstein did wrong there, and tell me if I've missed something.
No, you haven't. You're absolutely right, Peter. Just carrying too much momentum into turn 1 in the heat of... Wait a minute! Quinton Violati has passed Maxim Ramstein. I'm sorry, but that is amazing. The kind of defense that Maxim Ramstein was putting up today, I thought he would be literally impenetrable. I thought that he would be like the Lord of the Rings character, say, you shall not pass. But Violati has breached the fort. What composure the man has had. The Alcantech.com replay shall show us exactly how that happened, Peter.
Well, here we go, up towards the brilliant move there from Violati. Gets a great run out of the Klein chicane, up over the hill. Not often do you see a pass executed cleanly, keyword cleanly, at Gilles Villeneuve chicane. Wow, what a move from Quentin Violati. Move of the day for me, of what we've seen on camera at least. Ramstein's probably thinking, right, okay, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Time for a retaliation. But of course, poor old Brian Lockwood, he's having the drive of his PorscheSport Carrera Cup.com career, and he's not getting a great deal of time, but that's always a good sign as a racing driver. If you're leading and don't get camera time, that means that you are driving perfectly, and that's exactly what Brian Lockwood is doing. Nearly 6 seconds ahead, so all of the carnage behind between Violati, Ramstein and Nielsen playing in Lockwood's favour throughout the day, but he's had the pace to back it up as well. Really impressive stuff from the American.
Oh yeah, really. Brian Lockwood, a Porsche World Championship driver as well, known for putting in immense amount of effort. One of those very few racing drivers in the sim racing circuit, making ends meet and living purely through sim racing. It's amazing to see what kind of stuff Brian Lockwood can do on and off the track. He's managed Racecraft Esports quite well too, and he's been their leading light, the shining light for Racecraft Esports. They've had quite a few new additions to the team, Peter, but Lockwood still remains the father figure of sorts and really leading from the very front. But what I'm keen on seeing is what happens with Violati now that he's been liberated of sorts. Will he go in there and clock in some amazing kamikaze lap times? What do you reckon?
Judging by his lap times, absolutely he has. At the moment, 131.0. His fastest is a 130.8. So yeah, he's running very, very quick. Is Brian Lockwood. Interestingly, no quicker certainly lap for lap than these three guys here. The difference is that they've knocked 7 lumps out of each other.
No, you're absolutely right, Peter. That's the kind of case.
Oh,
and we see a lock-up right there. Interesting point. In the recent iRacing update, they've made the smoke slightly more thicker, so it appears more dramatic when a driver has a lock-up, but the effect is still more or less the same, but very much doable with no ABS on this car.
Oh, it's so easy. You just think, oh, I've just got the right amount of brake pressure, and you step over by a paperclip's width, and then you hear it's like a scraping noise as you turn your round Michelin tyre into a 50 pence piece. And actually, yes, I'm not sure about the new smoke. It kind of makes the racetrack look like a Dr. Dre video now.
Talk about a lovely reference right there. Yeah, you're right. It adds a lot of drama to the effect, let's put it that way.
Indeed, much like a Dr. Dre video. So Kane Halliburton, it's been, well, what Kane Halliburton has done today has kept him in the hunt for this championship. It's a long championship, and Suelo Armedia going into pit lane. Now, I don't know if this is for damage or if it's a drive-through. We'll see if he comes into his pit stall. But yes, coming back to Kane Halliburton. Now, really, he was very unlucky to get turfed off in his heat, and that put him right the way down the pack. He was turfed off at turn 1, so it was almost over before it began. But slowly but surely, throughout the evening, through the Consolation race, and here in the feature, he's recovering to a reasonable position and booking the points. So if this is as bad as it gets, he'll be able to drop the round anyway. So really, really impressive from Kane Halliburton. Equally as impressive as his teammate Brian Lockwood out front, just in their own way.
Yeah, exactly. We're speaking about the kind of commitment and tenacity that Rebecca Pauline has shown. Same can be said for Kane right there as well. Constantly facing adversity from the very start of this race and now bouncing back to the best of his abilities. But up ahead of him is a man who's also done an excellent job in this race weekend so far. Nick Schilder-Wisserman having a bit of a difficulty here and there in the first heat, but now seems to be in a very commanding defensive position. And now that he can do quite well. We saw that in the last round. So, with 4 odd minutes to go, Peter, can he block him off? Can he make that Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car feel like the widest thing in the world? I think he can, you know.
In order to do that, you should get the new 992 version, because it's now the first one built on the wide body. This was the narrow body 911 as well. Sorry, I'll just go and hang my anorak up for a second. Sorry. We're just 3.5 minutes to go. here at Zolder already. Where did that time go? This is meant to be the long race, goodness.
Seriously?
Yeah, so I want to take attention, of course, we've got battles just all over the field, but interestingly, Kevin Nielsen has recovered. He's now only 0.3 of a second behind Maxim Ramstein. Now, everyone will have their own opinion of that little bit of contact there heading into turn 1 a few laps ago. I would say it very much a racing incident, but this is now Kevin Nielsen, I'm sure, feels no racing driver thinks that any incident is their fault, which is we're all the same. And now that Nielsen's back on the case of Maxim Ramstein, I'm sure he will be extra keen to make this pass. And if these guys are going to be running up the front every single round, these points are going to be ever so vital, and they're all going to count to this championship.
They're all going to count to this championship. Seriously, that's the best way to put it eventually. And there's just that incentive to do something better every single time. Just get one up on your rivals. But what is Kevin Nielsen? Even after that mistake that put him all the way back down, he's just fought back up once again. And there he is, right on Maxim Ramstein's tail. And something tells me, Peter, Ramstein doesn't quite have the same amount of absolute pace that we saw from him last year, but he's improved quite a fair bit on his defending side of things. So maybe a better qualifying for him is what he exactly needs to get in those big race wins, because we saw while attacking the last time out of Mid-Ohio as well, he didn't look as comfortable as he did last time out, in the last season, I mean to say.
Yeah, it was a different complexion last time out. There was very much two standout drivers last season. There was Alexander Tieb and there was Maxim Ramstein, and often they found themselves in different heats. Often they qualified first and second, so they got pole in their respective heats, and then they would have a race in the feature. And yeah, this is a completely different scenario where you've got 10 Maxim Ramsteins and Alexander Tiebs in here as well. As you can see, here comes Nielsen. Nielsen really putting Maxim Ramstein under the cosh, and Vialati will be very, very happy to see this as well. And look at Nielsen, he's got the run. Whoa, side by side they come up towards the Jackie X chicane. Nielsen does have the inside, but Ramstein just about on the brakes. Cannot go any later than that. Really amazing finesse on the brakes there from Ramstein, because, as we've mentioned so many times, so hard to modulate the brake pedal, very, very easy to lock up, especially when you're under pressure, but it shows you the skill and the touch that these guys have.
Absolutely phenomenal driving. The fact that they have not made contact, the fact that they are going on to put up such a show for us, what amazing drivers they are. Riding on board right now with Kevin Nielsen, who's been on a minor comeback drive of sorts. And Peter, look at the clock. Half an hour has run out already. So if Nielsen wants to get the jump on Ramstein, it literally has to be in the next few corners or the last lap, because here hasn't really got much in the bag in terms of time. And now the whole dynamic has changed. One Quinton Vialati, who seemed to be attacking and seemed to be on the aggressive for the entire race seemingly, now he's got to do the hard defending. And Ramstein and Nielsen, clearly some really tough cookies right there.
Indeed, we are now on to the final lap. This is the final lap. The checkered flag is being prepared at the flag stand for Brian Lockwood. But back here goes Nielsen going to the inside, lets off the brake. Ramstein just hangs on for dear life as well. But our winner, Brian Lockwood, will be coming over the line to claim victory here in the PorscheSport Carrera Cup, but into Jackie X chicane for the final time. Nielsen right on the back there of Ramstein, but Brian Lockwood is your winner for Racecraft Esports. Quentin Vialati a very hard fought second, Ramstein third, Nielsen fourth. Wow. So after all that hard work, Nielsen off the podium, but of course came in as the championship leader. But Soumil, we've got to doff our cap to this man. Did exactly what he needed to do, got on pole position, got that win in the feature, and while the others battled behind him, just gradually edged out that gap and controlled it from there. A proper pro's drive.
Now, I often don't use the word perfect, but I think you can literally look at this drive in the feature race and say Brian Lockwood was near perfect. He was just I mean, what else could you have asked for? He maintains such a big gap. And yes, one can come up and say he was helped by the battling all behind, but his driving, his consistency, his composure, and just the kind of effort that he put in the heats to get up to such a good position, you have to doff your cap to Brian Lockwood. What a commanding performance. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a big, big statement of intent.
That it is. Yeah, that shows you that Brian Lockwood is going to be a force to be reckoned with in this championship. And you're absolutely right, Soumil. What he did was that he made sure that he did the work early. He got himself on pole position for the feature and got the launch right. Made sure he was into turn 1 first, because then that meant that he wasn't in the middle of that melee. His lap times were no quicker. The difference was he wasn't in the middle of a fight and was able to run his own pace. Brian Lockwood's best lap, 1:30.878. Violatti is a 1:30.728. Also Maxim Ramstein, 1:30.8. So actually, Lockwood, one of the slower drivers, in big inverted commas, of the leading 4 or 5, but did, again, well, Racecraft Esports did it right. Got the Racecraft correct. So, confirming then, Brian Lockwood, your winner by 7 seconds from Quentin Violatti, edging out an amazing 3-car battle between Maxim Ramstein and Kevin Nielsen as well. Sam Koiter, good finish for the Dutchman in 5th, with Florian Lebiger finishing 6th. Kamil Grabowski was 7th, with Vince Peters in 8th. Pascal Costa 9th, and Cenk Insioglu finishing in the top 10, coming through the consolation race. An amazing performance from Insioglu. Nick Schulte-Wisserman was 11th, with Kane Halliburton again coming from deep in the pack, from 28th on the grid to finish 12th. Gonzo Tastellan was 13th, with Matthias Burke in 14th. Kiro Kolobuksov for Wild Animals rounds out your top 15. Thomas Gildelion was 16th, followed by Bastian Matler, Andrew Prerio, Jake Robertson and Mike Wessop-Syker for Fuga Simsport, rounding out your top 20. Suelo Almeida was 21st, followed by Rebecca Pauline, Jan Schmitz, Marco Jaeger, Oscar Wilkins, Jeremy Lemire, Alexander Lauritsen, Gavin Halls, Dylan Burse, Justin Rem rounds out your 30-car field. Well, we have our third place driver joining us in the commentary box right now. Maxim Ramstein is with Soumil Arora.
Maxim, have you got a copy, mate?
Yeah, I think so.
Ah, perfect. Great stuff, man. Great defending right at the very end. Unfortunately for you, Quinton did get that move on you eventually, but overall in the weekend, you seemed incredibly strong. What are your initial thoughts on this race?
Yeah, I did not feel strong, to be honest. I mean, I'm happy to be on the podium, but I was pretty much struggling all day, except in qualifying. Qualifying lap was fine, but I just did not have the race pace, so I was defending the whole time, which is like, I'm exhausted right now. But yeah, happy to be on the podium. Happy to be in front of Kevin, of course, because he's in first in the championship, I think. So yeah. Yes, as long as I'm in front of the guy who's in first, then I think we can call it a good day.
Yeah, exactly. In that sense, it really has been a great one for you. Yet again, a good result on the broader perspective. But what is it, Maxim, that's not making you feel very comfortable, if I may?
Yeah, there's something, I'm not sure what it is, but it's something about the track, maybe. Like, I was thinking about this during the race. Like, I usually don't struggle for pace in the race. Usually qualifying is like my weak point. But yeah, today it was the other way around for some reason. So yeah, we'll have to look into that, because I'm gonna have to be stronger for the next races for sure.
Well, I certainly hope that will be the case, Maxim. We shall see a brilliant battle throughout the season. Finally, mate, before you go, your thoughts on the next round, and who would you like to thank for this result?
As always, I'd like to thank my team, Core Sim Racing, for the continued support and the great organization of the series as well. This is a pleasure to race with Simpower. And yeah, I hope to improve my race pace for the next one, and we'll see. We'll try. We'll be back.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed, Maxim. Have a great one.
Thank you, man.
So always nice to hear from Maxim Ramstein, and yeah, I think really impressive drive there from Maxim. If he wasn't quite comfortable with the circuit, he certainly didn't let it show. So we now have our race winner waiting to chat with us. Brian Lockwood for Racecraft Esports joins us now in the commentary box after an incredible round. Brian, welcome to the RaceSpot TV commentary box. An amazing win there in the PorscheSport Carrera Cup. How does it feel, sir?
Oh, it feels good, Peter. It feels really good. To be honest, I haven't had many drives like that this year, so it's nice to finally have a good run. I mean, other than a couple potentially key moments where I made some mistakes, I felt like that was a really good drive. Just found a nice rhythm, stayed focused the whole time, and yeah, felt stronger than I have in a lot of races this year. So hopefully it's a sign of things to come.
Let's hope so, yeah, of course. But as we know, you're racing the World Championship level on iRacing in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, which has been pretty wild this year as well. But tell us how important it was to get through. Of course, you've got to get through many stages here in the PorscheSport Carrera Cup, getting through the heat and then into the feature. But how important was it to get all that and get ahead? Because it seemed like there was quite a battle up behind you.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I had a massive advantage starting on pole. I beat Maxim to it by 1,000th, I think. And that played a big part in how the race ended up going. It's just so difficult to pass here. Even if you're faster than somebody by 2-3 tenths, it's really difficult to get a run enough that you can make it stick into these really tight braking zones. And, you know, not just tight braking zones, but the kinds of corners where there's only one line. If you try to go too wide, you're either going to be really slow, you're going to take each other out. So it was really just vital to stay in first throughout the heat race, which was actually a little more difficult. Wasn't so confident, didn't quite find the rhythm, but then the feature, I think I got lucky with some fighting happening behind me, and I was able to break the draft early and just put my head down.
Well, it was. We must apologise. You didn't get a great amount of time on camera, but as a racing driver, I suppose when you're winning and you don't get camera time, that's a good thing. Means there's no heart attacks, which is always good. Now, you mentioned those tight, technical, tricky corners. Next time we're off to Imola, I presume will be quite a similar challenge to here at Zolder.
Yeah, and I think I'm starting to develop this kind of track that is strong for me. Imola was good for me in the Super Cup. I like tracks like Zandvoort brands, so I love it. I can't wait. You know, this is a much better race for us at Racecraft than Mid-Ohio. I do think we were able to show some pace more than we had last week. So, yeah, I think we can carry that forward.
Well, that would be great to see. Now, Brian, before we let you go, as our race winner here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup, who would you like to say hello to here on RaceSpot TV?
Yeah, hello and thanks to everybody at Racecraft. Some of the results we got were a bit unfortunate, but pace was strong. Practice was really good. We all worked together to, I think, make some progress on the setup that helped today. So, yeah, just as always, thanks to all those guys, and of course, Racespot for the awesome broadcasts.
Well, you haven't watched it yet. I hope you'll still think that after watching it, Brian. But
well,
thank you.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do. Well,
I'll
Brian,
send some hate mail maybe.
We're used to it. We're used to it. No, I'm used to it anyway. Brian, congratulations on a superb drive, a flawless drive here at Zolder. Congratulations, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Imola.
Thanks, Peter.
So that was Brian Lockwood, our race winner, and as Brian eloquently explained there, Soumil, I think he really, really deserved it and did what he needed to do to get out the front early and let the problems happen behind him.
Exactly, right? You just saw the difference. Brian had the momentum, Maxime didn't quite feel it, and the results were evident right in front of you. And that difference in confidence, Peter, it can change for some teams and drivers from circuit to circuit. But what's consistent is the battles, right? Someday one team and driver is having a great chance, the other day it's someone else. What it really builds up to is an excellent season finale. That's a long way out, but even in the short run, the kind of racing that we're seeing on track is just mind-blowing. And I'm not saying it's just because I'm commentating on this championship, right? It genuinely is amazing, the kind of battles that we're getting. And it's a short format, 20 odd minute races and then a 30-minute feature one. It is watchable, it is enjoyable. It's amazing. That's the only word I can think of right now.
If I was to give it credit, or I hope I'll give it credit, is if you always, when you're trying to get your friends involved in something that you're passionate about, you get one chance with them, don't you? And you need to make sure you show them the most exciting race you've ever seen, or the most, whatever it is. Well, and I think if, for anyone watching, if they're still trying to convert their friends on sim racing who are maybe perhaps cynical or don't believe it's real racing, well, I just show any of these PorscheSport Carrera Cup races, either at Mid-Ohio 2 weeks ago or here at Zolder today. It is absolutely thrilling entertainment, and isn't that what we all want? Well, that is about all we have time for today on RaceSpot TV for the PorscheSport Carrera Cup. Huge thank you to PorscheSport, the leading Porsche independent news site. Check out independent reviews, interviews, and all Porsche motorsport news, and of course the weekly podcast where we will be breaking down all of the action here in the PorscheSport Carrera Cup. Myself, Peter MacKay, and Soumil Arora will see you in 2 weeks' time, 7 PM GMT, for round 3 at Imola. We'll see you there. Good night.